And finally, if you live in Ohio, a ballot measure on Tuesday would enshrine a right to abortion in your state's constitution. It is a measure that is currently being targeted by its opponents in some wildly misleading campaign ads.
The abortion industry's proposed amendment would allow no-limit abortions in Ohio. Abortions when the baby can feel pain, excruciating pain. On top of that, the same radical groups want to tear at the fabric that holds our families together. Allow our children to get abortions without our consent and remove all protections for the unborn. As parents, it's our worst nightmare.
Wow. That ad's argument is basically abortion rights are an assault on the traditional American family. A father, a mother, and another mother who's 12. Also,
does this guy do anything outside from Yap? I swear, please go outside or go roam around your $3 million mansion, motherfucker. Like, if you're sensitive, then just say so. You wasted your money on this lazy grown man? You alright, dude? Why are my haters always coming in here and being like, dude, your life is fucking sweet. What's wrong with you? I hate you so much. You didn't say anything about me. You just said a lot about yourself in that take, didn't you? My haters are fucking glazing me, especially by their own metrics of success.
As a parent, your worst nightmare is your child getting pregnant and not
So
having
weird.
to stay that way if they don't want to. I don't know, I guess we just have different nightmares. Because there's an objectively correct hierarchy of parental fears, and it's 1, losing one of your children. 2, something terrible happened to one of your children. 3, losing one of them, but not in a dead way.
Yo,
in the
what
folks
up?
that can't find them.
666, Mr.
And then you have to
Barnes.
decide whether to
What
look
up,
for them on your own
Catasaurus
or let
Rex?
someone
What's
know
up?
immediately that they're missing. Because if
Oh,
something's really
no.
wrong, you are going to need help.
Dude,
But
these
then just to follow
helicopters,
around
they
with
gotta
your
go.
Lego sets. You don't want to announce to the targeted employees that you're a negligent parent who
These frickin' hellies got to go. Got to go. What up, Jimmy Fingers? First time chat. Hell yeah. Is that first time chat with me or first time chat period? You guys new Twitch boys? How's it going? You guys, a couple of you were in here yesterday. Well, definitely 666, Mr. Buns. Oh, Dr. Ahmed. What's up, brother? Dude, you're in Egypt, right? I think it's so cool that the knit witches are literally global, baby. Was my voice doubled? Is it better now? I think I accidentally had a thing on. But yeah, we're gonna watch the JFK doc. You guys have good days yesterday? We watched the first like 20 or 30 minutes yesterday. Until it was Vanderpump Rules style or time, but we could watch the rest of it today. Cause dude, John Hankey, this dude is, I honestly think he's like the most, he knows the most about JFK at this point. He's like a god king and he has like 1,200 followers. Like what the hell? Or no, I think he has 3K followers, but whatever it is, it's criminal. There we go. There's our boy. The Real History Channel. A frickin' man. How's Panda Boy? He's good. I saw, I went and said hi to Chip Cat today. She's doing good too. She's really funny. She's the newest one in my, the newest kitty that I've collected. But Maui, Hawaii, but not a bro, I'm a lady. Oh, dude, bros, everyone's a bro. Everyone's my brother, and everyone is a dude. But no, I get what you mean. I'm just kidding. Currently retrying to comb jail records for the Eid shooting in Philly. Oh, nice, yeah. His email was so cool. Yeah, I know, right? I emailed him this morning. I emailed him a long ass like, bro, I just found out about you. I can't believe you've been doing this for 12 years on YouTube alone. I was like, I've been showing some people your stuff and would love to do a podcast episode with you sometime. And he just was like, yep. Yes, anytime. Very busy. We'll be back. But since they make fun of J-Lo's what is your bodega order? Dude, well, honestly, I mean, I probably shouldn't even say it because it's worse. I'm just a turkey sandwich boy. I love just turkey and pepper jack on a roll with mayo, mustard, and fucking lettuce, pickles, you know, all the shit. But I mean, I like chopped cheese. I like actually the move in New York is honestly getting Philly cheesesteaks from the deli, and then having them put mayo on it. Dude, that's the shit. But yeah, I'm super boring with I need to get a way better like go-to bodega order, you know, because I mean, even when I order my turkey sandwiches, I feel like a bitch, you know? I don't mean, didn't mean to say bitch, but you know what I mean. Like a punk. A faker daker, that's what I feel like. But I love a turkey frickin' sando on a roll. All right, you guys want to start watching this? Everyone remembers what was going on yesterday? That our buddy John Hankey here has found all of the documents that everyone was missing. Like, he found that NSAM report where JFK was like, because it's always been like, oh, JFK asked his people to start removing, you know, military men from Vietnam. But then when you look at the NSAM, the National Security something memoranda, it said like, you know, we can aim to get people out. But John Hankey found a document that was explicit. JFK saying, get everyone the fuck out of Vietnam by the end of 1965. And that had been hidden up until, I didn't see it until yesterday. That was the first time I saw it. So, and then, you know, George H.W. Bush, he says he was in Houston that day, but we all know he was in Dallas. Fucking John Hankey found a newspaper article where George Bush put that he was at the fucking hotel in Dallas that night. He put it in the newspaper. Like, okay, so anyway, I think we're going down the road with E. Howard Hunt. Oh, yeah, Tweedledee. I emailed John Hankey this morning, the guy who makes these docs. I was like, he'll probably respond to me. I've sent a lot of people emails, actually, and it's kind of surprising how many people don't email back. Like, there's this other guy who was like, he's like the premier expert on the Zapruder film, and he is the one who showed me that it's like it's fabricated. And now we know it makes sense because I think they're splicing two films together. Maybe when the JFK is coming around the corner, you know, as he's pulling towards Zapruder, that might be real. But once it crosses the Dallas, or, you know, the exit sign for the highway, like, we've always known there's something going on weird with the exit sign, right? And I know it's bigger than it actually is. Like, I know that there's a splice there. I know that there's the sprocket holes on the left. There's only like 4 or 5 frames that there aren't sprocket holes, and it's right there during the crossover of the sign, you know, blocking the screen. And like, as a graphics person or like video editor and stuff, when I look at the sign, to me, that sign is a giant wipe. It's like, it's a thing blocking what they're hiding behind it. And, you know, there's a bunch of weird little motions in it and stuff. But at this point now, with what John Hankey's found, it's like, yeah, of course, the second half of the Zapruder film is like faked. Or at least they're cutting out the middle frames because the fucking car stopped. It stopped. Dead stop. So, let's keep going. John Hankey's going to blow our asses off. Let's go. Oh, thanks. The overlay does look nice, right? One sec.
Crazy for me to see that.
That's rather substantial. This is Hunt's son.
Let me know
he
if you
knows
can't
what his
hear.
father looks like. He may have seen his father walking around the house with this expression on his face 1,000 times. I don't know. But let's quickly revisit this magazine article about Hunt. The article was based on a memo written by James Angleton, the head of CIA counterintelligence, and he wrote that Hunt was in Dallas and was involved in the assassination. But notice, please, Lansdale was also there, Bush was also there, other members of Lansdale's team were also there, but Angleton doesn't mention any of them, just Hunt. It's like Hunt played some special role that the others did not play, like maybe he fired the fatal shot, you think? That's a solid maybe. So how did he know? Was Hunt bragging? Nixon also seemed to know Hunt was involved and said so. That Hunt played some special role that made him stand out in Nixon's mind. Stupid Watergate Nazi G. Gordon Liddy.
And another thing that we learned yesterday, like, I've always heard that HW was, there at the scene. I figured that he was, like, watching it, because I think a lot of these guys would hear about this shit and then, like, want to see it, or, like, oversee it or whatever. But I think what John Hankey was alluding to is that, no, George H.W. was one of the hitters. And that, dude, it would make sense. Like, right now, I was under this suspicion that it was a European or Italian professional hitman, right? And now it looks like maybe it was H.W. and E. Howard Hunt and these, like, really famous CIA people who are all a bunch of shitty agents and stuff. But I could totally see no one wanting to do this because it's insane. Like, hitting a president in broad daylight is insane. I could see everyone saying no, and then H.W. being one of the guys who took the shot, for sure. He's such a scumbag.
Stupid book stupidly repeats the stupid lie that Hunt killed 22 people. Hunt must have bragged to Liddy about it. You don't suppose Hunt was a braggart? Well, duh. If you write 3 autobiographies, count 'em, 3, you are a braggart. And in this first autobiography, Hunt includes this picture and caption. No doubt he was giving a wink to his CIA friends, bragging. Yeah, it's true what you heard. I did it. It was me. But I'll tell you, I wasn't overly impressed by all of this preliminary stuff. But with all that preliminary stuff as context, as background, I feel this picture is practically a lock that Hunt was the Knowles shooter. And it makes sense, doesn't it, that the planners would put the #1 experienced sniper in the most critical position. Hunt claims that he was the chief of covert action in the Domestic Operations Division. He also claims that he was the chief of the CIA's Western Hemisphere Division. But for sure, he wasn't a nobody. He had an office in Nixon's White House. So when Dick Gregory started speaking out and putting up posters saying that Hunt was this tramp and that the CIA had murdered JFK, this decoy was hired and pushed into the spotlight, James Files, to say that he was the lone grassy knoll shooter. But every witness who saw anything behind the fence at the top of the knoll says there were at least 2 men there. Photos show 2 men. He tells us that he's a murderous mafia shitbag, but he has some inexplicable devotion to the truth about how Hunt didn't do it. Okay. And he got 25 years taken off his sentence because he claimed to have murdered Kennedy. Really? Is that how that works? But the way I see it, if this were some unknown, unimportant schmuck in this photo, no one would have thought to hire Files to tell us this lie. The fact that the killers found it necessary to hire Files, that fact is perhaps the strongest evidence that this is in fact Hunt. And then there's this clown, Chauncey Holt.
And did you guys see who that dude was? The dude that was right here was frickin' Matthew McConaughey's dad.
Who was a low-down, small-time fraudster all his life, who gave his wife a phony name when he married her, and for the next 20 years. They had a daughter that he gave his phony name to, and he actually says that he's coming forward out of a righteous desire to stand up for the truth and to defend Hunt from slander. I'm not kidding. You couldn't make up more ridiculous garbage, and he says that he is the tramp in the photos. And as he's telling us this lie, he does kind of look like the tramp, except that the tramp photo was taken 40 years before when Holt looked like this, 30 years younger than the tramp. This story is so dumb. The perps are bending over backwards to protect Hunt, but they don't see that by doing that, they are really only incriminating him. It's really ironic, no? Angleton's memo didn't say Hunt was a shooter, and I didn't suspect that he was. But after this constant pounding from all these stone liars, I'm now convinced Hunt did that shit. But who cares? It's a minor detail. isn't it? Let's review for just a second. CIA General Lansdale, in the street in Dealey Plaza, was the highest-ranking leader of what Hoover called the misguided anti-Castro Cubans, called Operation Mongoose. Lansdale answered directly and only to Bobby Kennedy. Dealey Plaza was crowded with Lansdale's operatives. Besides his lieutenants Bush and Hunt, there were a gang of low-level operatives acting as decoys, including Frank Sturgis, Jerry Hemmings, Pedro Diaz-Lanz, Orlando Bosch, Guillermo Novo, and Ignacio Novo. But it's useful to look at this structure. Lansdale is the second tier down from the White House, and immediately under him was a team of lieutenants, supervisors of the violence, answerable to no one but him. Bush and Hunt were members of this third-level team, and another member of this team was Ted Shackley. Shackley was nicknamed the Blonde Ghost because he hated to be photographed. He was famous for it. But now, wait, don't all CIA people hate to be photographed? Well, no, not Hunt or Bush. And in fact, Shackley was not an operative.
Dude, John Hankey is the only person who should be trusted on any of this shit. He's, how did he, I mean, he's been doing it for 50 years. This dude is a mastermind. I love him.
He was a desk jockey. He virtually never left his office. Why do you suppose it is, then, that this pencil pusher was famous for hating to be photographed? It's not a casual question. You see, this is Shackley, being arrested as a shooter outside the book depository. No wonder, then, that he was terrified of being photographed. He couldn't afford...
Dude, what the fuck? Where's John finding this shit?
...someone looking at this video and saying, oh shit, that guy looks exactly like Ted Shackley. Which is what I said when I saw it. You can see the pattern we're developing here, no? No professional would take the job. So, to our mutual amazement, we find that the top highest leaders of the CIA...
And do you see, you know what that also means? That just proves how fucking important this was to them. They said, do anything. Anything that you can. Everything that you can. Throw the top CIA brass at this. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. I never would have thought that HW would have been one of the shooters. Dude, that's nuts. That's seriously nuts. One of our presidents shot another president and then became president, and then his son became president.
Mongoose operation had to directly involve themselves as shooters. Bush was arrested coming out of the Daltex building from which shots had been fired. Hunt was arrested behind the grassy knoll, and the news reporters say this Shackley twin was arrested coming out of the book depository. But we're missing somebody. Richard Carr testified that he saw a man with horn-rimmed glasses on the 6th floor, but Carr and at least 4 other witnesses, Amos Ewens, Tony Henderson, Arnold Rowland, and Deputy Roger Craig, all testified that they saw a 4th, very dark Latino member of this team of shooters. Some saw him wielding a rifle. Ewens actually saw him firing shots. Craig saw him being questioned by the police, and Carr and Craig both saw him driving the getaway Nash Rambler station wagon with Lee Harvey Oswald on board. And they all described this 4th member of the team as a very dark Latino. Wait, a very dark Latino in the highest levels of the CIA, really? Yes, really. David Morales, who worked directly for Shackley, was Shackley's chief of operations in Miami. Miami was by far the largest operations office in the entire CIA, and Morales was in charge. This is Ruben Carvajal, Morales' lifelong friend, at his side when he died.
You don't mess with him, and he'll blow your ass apart.
And this is...
Yeah, dude, Fairy Flower, I was thinking the same thing, that this is what happens with people who, A, don't have jobs. They don't have to do anything. They just literally sit around and play the game, which is use us as pawns, you know? They're all fighting over who gets to control the cattle. Us. But yeah, so it's all coming from entitlement. It's all coming from, you know, fucking... Yeah, it's just these, like, rich families. They've always been rich. They're always going to be rich. And they literally don't think of human lives as worth anything. They just take and take and take. That's all they do.
Bob Walton, a friend and lawyer to Carvajal and Morales. Carvajal and Walton both say that Morales told them that he was in Dallas and helped kill Kennedy.
He was striding around the room, and I don't ever recall.
And yeah, 666, they're all Nancy's. They're all literal Nancy's.
Seeing him lose it like that.
It was when the subject turned to Kennedy that Morales lost it. Morales told him,
I was in Dallas when we got that motherfucker.
And as we're drinking, and finally did he something. Well, we got the son of a bitch. That's what he said.
Morales received a subpoena to testify before the Select Committee on Assassinations. A week before he was to testify, he suddenly died of a heart attack at age 53.
Say, what's the matter with you, Diddy? He said, I don't feel too good. I said, why not? I had a few drinks with my cronies up there before I left for West D.C. He said, really? He said, on the plane, I haven't been feeling good. Wasted 5 hours to get him to the hospital. To make damn sure that he didn't, I guess he wanted him dead, I guess, real good. They knocked him off, man, you know. But he knew too much.
Unlike Hunt, Morales was not a braggart. He was not usually subject to such outbursts.
I don't ever recall seeing him lose it like that.
This confession, then, with all this corroborating context.
Dude, I love John Hankey's animation and video style is so good. Just like popping their head on top of their head in the picture. So good.
Is hugely credible.
So many jokes. He's got jokes all over. Dude, John Hankey is a pro.
Morales matches the profile we now have of the shooters. He matches the descriptions, and he confessed. So, does all this qualify as a breakthrough? Bush being arrested as a shooter, that's a breakthrough, no. This guy was head of the CIA, and vice president, and president, and father of a president. He's one of the big dogs. And this is a big crime to hang around his neck, finally. And I think there's a couple of even bigger points to be scored here against the bad guys. First, we get to see that these guys, the big bosses, the power elite.
Yeah, dude, his editing is so good. I can't believe I haven't seen him before. You know, this is crazy. But look, man, this is what they do. This is what Google and all these fucking companies, there's a thirst for this kind of knowledge. People want this, and they actively suppress it, and they actively keep people from finding us. And then once they do, I'm sure they get put on a fucking list, you know?
Are truly limited in their scope and capability. They aren't all powerful like they want us to think. Hell, they couldn't even find a team of crack marksmen to be the shooters. And they couldn't get away with it. We caught them. It took nearly 60 years, but it's not too late to hang their crimes around their necks. And to me, as a historian, that feels like a breakthrough. But we've got even bigger monsters to harpoon. John Kennedy's killers wanted war because they love killing, and they love war profits. And they killed Kennedy for resisting.
Until it has abolished all armies and all weapons.
So good.
In any murder, hiding the motive is a highest priority. No matter the evidence, the killers can put on an innocent face, claim innocence, and ask, why would we want to do that? So there has been a huge, amazingly complex and effective effort by the killers to hide why Kennedy was killed by repeating the lie that he had no hard plans to get out of Vietnam. And this effort has been incredibly successful. For example, I love the movie JFK.
Oh, sorry, guys. I kind of started this way back. Was everyone here yesterday, or should we just keep watching, or do you want me to skip ahead 5 minutes? Because this is the part about. Well, let's just watch it. This is the part about the national security memoranda thing. Yo, what up, Chazzy Bass Face?
But when I saw this scene, I was shocked.
So, 1963. I spent much of September 63 working on the Kennedy plan for getting all U.S. personnel out of Vietnam by the end of 1965. His National Security Action Memo 263.
I'd read a mountain of books on JFK and his murder, but I'd never read that. Did Oliver Stone, the creator of the movie, just make it up? No, he didn't. This mysterious guy in the black trench coat was real. We met him a few minutes ago. His name is Colonel Fletcher Prouty. He worked in the very highest levels of the Pentagon. In September of 1963, John Kennedy's military advisor, General Krulak, ordered Prouty to help him write up this decision to get out of Vietnam.
And it was perfectly logical from the Kennedy point of view that we should not be in Vietnam. And when he wrote that that all American personnel would be out of Vietnam by the end of 65, that was Kennedy's decision.
So Stone didn't make this story up. He got the story from Prouty. But did Prouty make it up? No, he didn't. All the people whose job was to know such things said Kennedy had decided to get out. Roger Hillsman said so. He was Kennedy's action officer on Vietnam. It was his job to know what Kennedy wanted and to see that he got it. And he says that Kennedy wanted to negotiate a peace with Ho and have all Americans withdraw. Kenny O'Donnell was Kennedy's chief political strategist, his #1 guy. It was his job to know Kennedy's most sensitive plans, and he says that Kennedy wanted to negotiate a peace with the communists and have all Americans out by the end of '65. Robert McNamara was Kennedy's Secretary of Defense. It was his job to know.
Important meeting that occurred, 7 weeks before he died, October 2nd, 1963.
Died.
And what happened was that President Kennedy...
It's like he died. He fell down the stairs, guys. Ugh. Car accident. His Secret Service stopped in the middle of an ambush. That is the accident that the car had.
decided, number one, we'd plan to withdraw our advisors by the end of 1965, December 31, 65. Number two, there were 16,000 advisors there then. We'd plan to withdraw the 16,000 by the end of December 1965.
But I had read Hillsman. I had read McNamara. So why was I so shocked by this scene?
I spent much of September '63 working on the Kennedy plan for getting all U.S. personnel out of Vietnam by the end of 1965. This plan was one of the strongest, most important papers issued from the Kennedy White House. His National Security Action Memo 263.
Because this fact that Kennedy had officially decided all personnel out by the end of '65 is not in any of their books. This Hillsman quote is from an interview with the JFK library that he knew would be kept secret for 20 years. But it's not in his book. McNamara said this quietly once.
That President Kennedy decided, number one, we'd plan to withdraw our advisors by the end of 1965, December 31, 65.
At this small, out-of-the-way speech.
Yeah, see how he swallows that? He, as soon as he started saying it, he realized he wasn't supposed to say it. Dude, how do these guys keep their fucking lies straight? I mean, they don't. They eventually always tell on themselves, but...
It is not in his book. And guess what? If you look up National Security Action Memorandum 263, it's not there either. There's really almost nothing here except this note telling us to look at Section 1B.
Dude, that's the other thing, too, is that they just take everything off the internet now. What the fuck? Bro, oh my God. Sorry, I just fucked it up. Oh my goodness. Well, I don't want to watch Johnny.
On by the Dallas police detectives, and that was the last he saw or heard of the suspect.
Guys. Hold on.
All U.S., all American personnel.
65. His National Security Action Memo 263.
I'd read a mountain of books on JFK and his ordered
that all
Prouty. But did Prouty make it up? No. 5. Robert McNamara was Kennedy's Secretary of Defense. It was his job to know.
Important meeting that occurred, 7 weeks before he died, October 2nd, 1963. And what happened was that President Kennedy decided, number one, we'd plan to withdraw our advisors by the end of 1965, December 31, 65. Number two, there were 16,000 advisors there then. We'd plan to withdraw the 16,000 by the end of December 1965.
But I had read Hillsman. I had read McNamara. So why was I so shocked by this scene?
I spent much of September '63 working on the Kennedy plan for getting all U.S. personnel out of Vietnam by the end of 1965. This plan was one of the strongest, most important papers issued from the Kennedy White House. His National Security Action Memo 263.
Because this fact that Kennedy had officially decided all personnel out by the end of '65 is not in any of their books. This Hillsman quote is from an interview with the JFK library that he knew would be kept secret for 20 years. But it's not in his book. McNamara said this quietly once.
That President Kennedy decided, number one, we'd plan to withdraw our advisors by the end of 1965, December 31, 65.
At this small, out-of-the-way speech. It is not in his book. And guess what? If you look up National Security Action Memorandum 263, it's not there either. There's really almost nothing here except this note telling us to look at Section 1B of the McNamara-Taylor Report. And when we look at Section 1B, the recommendation that we find is this weak-ass, cowardly sentence about...
Yeah, that was it. It should be possible to withdraw the bulk. I had always heard JFK ordered the removal of troops from Vietnam, but this was the wording in that document. But it wasn't this originally. As soon as JFK had that meeting and was like, yo, get everyone out, 6 days later, I think, is when Lee Harvey Oswald was either started or was told to start working at the book depository. So these two things aren't directly related, you know, like obviously they are.
It should be possible to withdraw the bulk of U.S. personnel. McNamara says this was a decision to withdraw all 16,000 military people, but this doesn't read like a decision. It should be possible. It sounds at most like wishful thinking. Prouty and McNamara both tell us that this was a written decision, that
all American personnel would be out of Vietnam by the end of 65.
And O'Donnell and Hillsman. But the official document in the official record does not say all, it says the bulk. And it doesn't say will be withdrawn, it says should be possible. So where is the language about a firm decision to remove all personnel? The answer is it's not here. Are these guys all wrong then, all of them? Or has the most important document in the history of the Vietnam War been changed? Let's take another approach. How do you know when a decision is really a decision and not just some wishful thinking about some vague notion of withdrawal?
I'm thinking about trying crystal meth. Dude, he's too fast. I miss most of his jokes. He's so fast.
No, because when a real decision is made, the people in the room walk out and immediately start to carry out that decision. And here you go, 40 hours after the October 2nd meeting, where
President Kennedy decided to withdraw our advisors by the end of 1965.
40 hours later, General Maxwell Taylor, the head of all military, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, wrote this memo to all the military chiefs of the Army, Air Force, Navy, and Marines, telling them that the President approved recommendations contained in the trip report, and the following actions are directed. All planning will be directed for the withdrawal of all U.S. personnel by the end of calendar year 1965. All personnel is exactly what Prouty said he wrote in the trip report on Kennedy's orders. Let's focus on some highlights for a minute. Taylor is telling the chiefs, this is not a discussion. You are directed to take these actions, to prepare to have all U.S. personnel out of Vietnam by the end of 1965. But my final point is that he says that these recommendations were contained in the trip report. But this is the trip report, and this recommendation is not here. This document, McNamara and Taylor's trip report, is the most important document of Kennedy's entire administration, and what we have here is a forgery. The original, we now know, looked like this. But the most important sentence was removed and replaced with this huge lie. This is huge, unparalleled. Unparalleled not just in U.S. history, but in all of history, as far as I know. Name another example of a forgery of this magnitude. I can't do it. This memo from Taylor was declassified in 1997. It should have been a thunderclap among the liars who call themselves historians. It should have dominated the headlines on front pages for weeks, but you never even heard of it. No one you know has ever heard of it. No book has ever mentioned it. Exposing this document as a forgery by finding this document is a huge breakthrough. O'Donnell tells us that Kennedy decided in the spring of 1963 that the U.S. had to get out of Vietnam, but on October 2nd, he put that decision into action. He forced McNamara to put his name on the decision, and he forced Taylor to put his name on the orders. A week later, Oswald was sent to work at the book depository. So, now we know a lot about why he was killed, and we know a lot about who. I think it's time to ask, what did Johnson know?
It's crazy, right, guys? I mean, this is nuts. It's literal, it's direct proof that it was these military men, you know, being insubordinate. Like, they were told to go get people the fuck out of Vietnam, and instead they called up Lynn Rothschild and said, hey, call up H-Dubs, put him in the sewer, we gotta take this guy out. Because, dude, all they're doing is thinking about their jobs. They're saying, oh, he's gonna withdraw the army? Well, what am I gonna freaking do? So we have to do forever war for the rest of our lives because these, like, 10 people won't have jobs. Imagine. I mean, no, it's obviously to keep the military industrial complex going forever, but, like, it's so blatant, it's so in our face, it really makes me sick. Like, these people are sick in the fucking head, bro. They, like, only think and care about hurting people and our government buying more of their bombs. Like, it's so twisted, man.
JFK's limousine stopped in front of the grassy knoll and...
Like, I don't get how, like, most people can think JFK was killed by his government, and like still want to play this stupid game. Like, dude, I don't know if they've already won. Like, no, I'm just kidding. That's not true. I just don't get why like everyone should just immediately be up in arms. It's baffling to me, you know. I'm so angry about this all the time. And if everyone would just get angry about it, we wouldn't have to do what we're doing. But nope, that hustle culture has got everyone by the balls.
Sat there for over 4 seconds until the fatal shot was fired. Senator Yarborough was in the third car in the motorcade, 30 feet behind Kennedy when he was shot, and he said publicly that the limousine stopped.
Everything slowed up, and the car stopped. The motorcade did not take off till about the time the third shot was fired.
A period of at least 5, 6, 7.
About 5 seconds measured this way.
And he said so in his Warren Commission affidavit with undisguised fury at the Secret Service. The wife of Dallas Mayor Earl Cabell said so in her Warren Commission testimony. 5 motorcycle cops riding alongside the limousine have said so on tape.
After the first shot was fired, Secret Service cut the speed on us. We were just barely moving.
I would have sworn that the car stopped.
3, 4 seconds, maybe 5, 6.
So I'd have to say that car just all but stopped. I don't recall myself stopping. I must have some target to get off his motorcycle to run his car.
5 eyewitness news people have said so.
I was on the White House press bus. I've had nightmares about it. The explosion, the car almost coming to a stop, almost to a dead stop, and then accelerating at tremendous speed.
And all of a sudden,
look at how many different, dude, if we had a single journalist in America, this would have been taken care of 40 years ago. But this is just even more proof that we have no control over our lives. Nothing is real. Everything is just, you know, it's a play. It's a play that's presented to us, and we have no say in it. We have no control over it. It's the play of our lives, and we have no free will. We just have to do what Lynn Rothschild wants to do. Nexium weirdo.
pop, pop, pop. The limousine almost stopped for a moment and then lurched forward under the underpass.
We have a phone call from Bob Clark in Dallas.
We heard the shots very clearly. The car that the president was traveling, this car came to an immediate stop. The Secret Service followed car. Some of the agents piled out, then almost immediately leaped back into the car, and the motorcade took off very rapidly.
Mrs. Kennedy screamed out, "Oh no!" The car stopped momentarily. The Secret Service men immediately began fanning out into the crowd.
We've stationed ourselves just down from the school book depository building.
Dude, it makes so much more sense, too, with Jackie running out, right? Oh, my God. Hey, Cam Girl Ren. Thanks for stopping by, dudes. But yeah, it's like, dude, everything is finally making sense. Jackie scrambling out of the car, it's because the fucking car was stopped, and she thought she was next. Bro. Who knows? Maybe the driver, it was the person. Like, we can't trust the Zapruder film anymore. But like, part of it is real. I know, like the kid running away from the tunnel. Like, I mean, obviously they could have like photoshopped it or whatever, or photoshopped the car at that point. But because there's like a kid running away from the tunnel, and that feels like real and in the shot. But who knows, man? Fuck these guys.
What I couldn't really believe was the car had, after that first shot, had come practically to a stop.
And dude, the fact that they did it in broad daylight in like a parade, like instead of just doing it at home, like that was a warning for us. You know, that's for everyone. If you want to not do war, you're gonna get boomed.
2 of the closest eyewitnesses said so.
The car got right beside me where I was at, and it actually stopped momentarily. And I heard Jackie Kennedy say, "Oh, God, no, no." And I heard John Connolly say, "They're going to shoot us all."
The president looked up, and just as he looked up, 2 shots rang out, and he grabbed his chest, and this real odd look came over his face, and he pitched forward. And there was just an instantaneous, sort of an instant's pause, and in the motorcade, it momentarily halted. and 3 or 4 more shots rang out, and they sped away real quickly.
Dude, and that makes so much more sense now with how many shots there were. Like, there's a couple people that claim it was like up to 8 or 9 shots. Yeah, it's because it was freaking HW. That loser. I bet he's a horrible shot.
Any one of these witnesses might be mistaken. 2 of them might be mistaken. But all of them?
Yeah.
All the best witnesses. But we see no stopper.
Dude, and John Hankey's so good at showing you how much evidence for each of these things is by popping each person up on the screen and leaving them on. That's a really great, I'm going to steal that from him.
Or even slowing of the limousine in the so-called Zapruder film. How is that possible? The film was a thunderclap when it was first made public, destroying the official story that Oswald shot Kennedy.
Yes, dude. We're going to talk about it right here. Let's go. John Hankey never disappoints.
From behind, obliterating it. It became the bedrock of evidence for Warren Commission critics like me, and it's a fraud. It's less like a breakthrough and more like the bottom dropping out. What the hell? In 1966, the killers handed us this proof that their own official story was a lie. Why? We need to take our...
Huh. Dude, this is connected to the octopus murder stuff, right? Remember when they showed the driver, or when they showed that lady, the driver shooting JFK? And the tree missing? Yeah, someone already said the half the tree's missing. Like, dude, everything is a psyop. I hate them.
Time here, eh? Let's observe first that an unaltered version of the film would show the limousine stopping in front of the knoll and waiting for the kill shot. It would make clear that the Secret Service are not only implicated.
Wait. Did you ask if I was never going to talk about the moon landing? No, I would love to. I honestly just like, I haven't had time yet, but it's on the list. It's on the list of stuff. I watched that funny thing happened on the way to the moon. That was pretty cool. Like, at this point, I don't think that they went to the moon. Just because, you know, it felt like they, like, especially now knowing that NASA's like 100% Mormons and Nancys, like, I think that the moon land, like, they just had to do it to... JFK announced at the beginning of the decade that they were going to the moon, and they probably were obligated to do it, and also were like, this is a great freaking way to get a ton of money, and we don't have to do anything. We'll just fake it. I could see them doing that in an instant, you know, so I don't doubt it at all. I never really questioned it, you know, before, like... Just because it's like, you know, it's hard to believe that, or like assume that your government is it lies about not just tons of stuff, but everything, you know? After seeing Capricorn 1 too, I was like, oh yeah, this is how they would do it. Oh, for sure, this makes sense. But yeah, I think that it was bullshit and haven't even looked at the totality of the evidence yet. But wait, it was funny thing happened on the way to the moon that shows them faking it. We've already seen the proof. We should just watch that one day. We'll watch funny thing happened on the way to the moon. But they show the evidence of them. They found like some extra footage or whatever that wasn't aired at the time, like somewhat recently. And it's showing, it's the NASA astronauts shooting a film through the window of the spacecraft and looking back at Earth, and they're like talking about how can we make it look further away because it looks too close. Like they're trying to sabotage it and hide the fact that they aren't that close to, or they're further away from Earth than they are. Like they went up into space, I think, and they went into orbit, but I don't think that they went all the way to the moon. No, they're liars. They lie. And they would be like, it's way easier for us to fake it once you're up there and then just have you come down. And then we'll get $1 trillion bajillion, like, you know? So, yeah, For sure, dude. Fuck these guys. They are monsters.
Thrown into the spotlight, center stage, as the stars of the show.
Oh, dude, and the Oswald being... You said, I wonder if Oswald's death was fake. Dude, the second that I realized that Paul Weisopel was 100% real, I'm not crazy, it's legit, I started asking the same thing. So I've wondered too. Because it seems like they don't kill any of these guys. I mean... Ghislaine Maxwell's probably out. They didn't kill Epstein, I don't think. Like, these are their, like, secret agents. I mean, they didn't kill Paul. Like, I think a lot of them, yeah. Especially the ones that play ball. There's probably only so many of these psychos. But yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised
Any one
if
of 100
Oswald
different gunmen might have been found
was
to
alive.
fire that shot from the knoll, but only the Secret Service could have made that shot possible by first changing the route to go down Elm Street and then stopping the limousine and waiting for the kill shot. So, when I saw this official fake Zapruder film, I didn't blame the Secret Service because their crime had been removed. Instead, I blamed Lyndon Johnson and Earl Warren for lying to me, telling me the now obvious lie that Kennedy was killed by a shot from behind. And now notice, too, that it would have been much easier for the monsters to have changed the movement of Kennedy's body, to make it look like the shot came from behind than it was to remove the limo stop. I did this. I made this altered version of the Zapruder film, changing the movement of Kennedy's body. It took me, an amateur with a lousy copy working by myself, 10 measly hours to make this change. But removing the limo stop, how do you even do that? That was a masterpiece of film editing deception. So, if it's so much easier, why did they not change the movement of Kennedy's body? Go ahead and stop the movie until you've thought about it for 5 or 10 years. I see now, 50 years later, that I blamed Lyndon Johnson and Earl Warren for lying to me because I was supposed to blame them. That was the point of releasing this film in 1966, to make Johnson look guilty and get Nixon elected. No fooling.
Yep.
So let me make a couple of quick and sloppy points about Johnson. First, if we had seen this film with the limo stop, we might have excused Johnson for lying to us. We'd have understood that Johnson knew that the same men who had murdered Kennedy would murder him if he didn't cooperate. Second, notice that Johnson and Warren gave us all these documents and much more, as you're about to see. Really, it's all there. Third, it means that as you watch this, your mind is being violently assaulted with a lie. Your society, all the people all around you have been psychologically and intellectually raped by this weaponized lie. But you ain't seen nothing yet, because the implications of fundamental Secret Service involvement are mind-boggling. For example, why was this crazy, stupid public execution even necessary? This is a huge point. Given Secret Service leadership in this murder, killing Kennedy in this fashion doesn't make any sense. You're familiar with the expression, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. It's a slight exaggeration. The absolute truth is that the more complicated your plans are, the more likely it is that big things will go wrong. And big things went wrong. The men shooting from behind were supposed to have killed Kennedy before he got to the grassy knoll. The grassy knoll gunman was supposed to then shoot Kennedy, but something went wrong, and the Secret Service had to stop Kennedy's limousine for 5 or 6 seconds. Wow. This shot, in front of dozens of witnesses, made it impossible to credibly blame Oswald. All the Dallas doctors insisted Kennedy had this huge exit wound in the back of his head. As we've seen, all the shooters were arrested or at least identified. That wasn't supposed to happen. After the shooting, Oswald's Italian rifle was nowhere to be found. A German Mauser was found on the 6th floor. Officer Weitzman found it and carefully identified it as a Mauser, and the news people reported this for the next 3 days.
Mauser, German-made rifle with the sniper scope that was used to kill President Kennedy.
7.65 Mauser. Say 7.65 Mauser.
It was a 7.65 Mauser. Mauser. A Mauser.
Mauser.
Oswald was supposed to have been killed during his arrest. Instead, he was brought back and put before the press, where he claimed to be a patsy.
You have given me a hearing without legal representation or anything. You shoot the president? I didn't shoot anybody, no, sir.
And on and on. The FBI reported that Kennedy's body had been mutilated before the autopsy. The initial press coverage.
The car stopped momentarily. The Secret Service man.
Just one disaster after the next. But an experienced commander knows that's how these things go. Shooting Kennedy in Dallas was a hugely complex operation, directly involving dozens of operatives in all of these failed operations and a dozen more. The professionals who planned this operation were experienced.
Dude, so many fuck-ups. This is why when they do the natural disaster 9/11 this summer, we all just need to be watching and frickin' look for the cracks, because everything is going to be fucked up, because they're such slugs, dude. They just depend on the fact that they own everyone. Like,
they knew these things happen. That's why General Lansdale was on the scene to fix the disasters that they knew would occur. But so, why didn't they just poison Kennedy? That would have been so easy, you have no idea. You see, John Kennedy was not a well man. He suffered painfully from stomach, colon, prostate, high fevers, dehydration, abscesses, and sleeplessness, severe back problems, and a life-threatening adrenal gland problem known as Addison's disease.
yeah, dude, it's the same thing as 9/11. You're right. It's the start of this, like, or maybe not the start, but like they actively seek out traumatizing us. That's what they do to us. So it's the same thing as the Challenger. It's the same thing as 9/11. It's the same fucking thing as Sandy Hook. It's the same as the Buffalo shooting. It's all to, it's to traumatize us, literally. Because traumatized people are easy to control and easy to get to shut the fuck up, you know? It's so sick that they actively seek out making the population, the citizens of their country, mentally ill. They want to traumatize everyone. That's what they do.
He received injections of steroids, penicillin, procaine, and other painkillers, and testosterone. He swallowed Lomotil, Transitine, and Nembutal, a minimum of 3 to 5 injections a day. And there was a parade of doctors through the White House administering these drugs: an allergist, an endocrinologist, a gastroenterologist, an orthopedist, a urologist, as well as Dr. Janet Travell, Admiral George Berkeley, and Dr. Max Jacobson. For our purposes, Jacobson, famously known as Dr. Feelgood, deserves the most attention. He was giving Kennedy amphetamines and God knows what else. The other doctors objected, but Kennedy famously insisted, "I don't care if it's horse piss, it works." And not too surprisingly, the Secret Service had direct contact with the doctors involved in Kennedy's medical treatment.
Yeah, dude, I agree that someone said the war must be more profitable than fossil fuels, but I agree with 666. I think that it's just that they can't admit to anything, because once you admit to one thing, it's going to be dominoes, and that is what's going to happen for us, hopefully. You know, I do think that we've got this. We just need a domino to fall, because once that fucking domino falls, it's over. Like, this will, I mean, it's already over, because everything that people are talking about now is currently leading to this stuff. Because, yeah, it literally is. Everything is connected. They don't want us to know how, like, they make us pretend like history is like 1 billion years ago. It's like, it was your grandparents. It was your parents. Like, it wasn't that far. Or it wasn't that long ago, you know? But yeah, it's if they give us evidence of one thing, then we will find the rest of it. That's what George H.W. Bush's whole, like, motto was. What is it? Admit nothing, or deny everything, admit nothing, or something. Like, that's just what they do. But they also write down everything. So it's like, I mean, we have literal proof at this point that JFK was killed by our government, you know? So that's got to count for something eventually, right? I mean, dude, how I don't know. I just don't get how we don't get everyone up in arms about this. It's like so infuriating.
So it would have been child's play for the Secret Service to have switched out one of Jacobson's, or any of these doctors' vials from which they injected Kennedy with a concentration that would produce a lethal overdose. If they then switched back the original vial, the crime would be virtually undetectable. This operation would have taken 2 agents, nobody else, neat, clean, undetectable. 100 other scenarios would have been possible when you work into the equation that the Secret Service were helping. All of these methods would be literally 1 billion times simpler and less risky than the shooting we witnessed.
They don't
Given
care.
the opportunity offered by Dr. Jacobson's presence, it would have been a very simple matter. So why did they shoot him? I think it's very clear, isn't it?
John Hankey.
The Secret Service must have wanted Lyndon and Lady Bird Johnson to witness their involvement in splattering John Kennedy's brains all over Jackie. But there was a long line of powerful men anxious to show off to the new president their involvement in murdering the old president. For example, when Kennedy's autopsy was over, Dr. Humes, the lead doctor, burned his...
Yeah, dude, 666, I do think that, I think it's going to fall, bro. It's all too obvious, but that is probably when they'll cut the internet, right? But, dude, fuck them. They're done. They're cooked. It's over.
Notes and was then handed a report to sign, reporting a small entrance wound in the right rear of the head where 100% of the Dallas emergency staff reported seeing a fist-sized exit wound 5 inches across. Quietly handing this report to Dr. Humes for his signature was all the involvement by the military that was necessary to create this false report. But Dr. Fink testified that the autopsy room was crowded with generals and admirals telling the doctors that they were in charge, ordering the doctors not to dissect the throat wound, or the wound in John Kennedy's back, for example. The generals did all of this in front of the FBI agents who were present, who reported what they saw to Hoover, who reported to Johnson. So Johnson would have known everything. But again, all the generals had to do was hand this report to Dr. Humes for his signature, order him to sign it, and order him to burn his notes, and order him to shut up about it, all of which he immediately did. No other involvement was necessary.
Dude, you say people think that Monsters, Inc. is real? That is, like, how they think of this. Truly, I think. This, like, Luciferian people, they think that, like, they want to feed their master, Lucifer, and they literally think of it like Monsters, Inc., that they need all of us suffering all the time, which, like, congrats, you guys did it. You know, where's Lucifer? Everyone's pretty miserable. But they literally think that pain and, like, suffering and all this shit is, like, they're energy vampires. They are. It is Monsters, Inc. Like, these people literally are energy vampires. They're here to use us as batteries, man. So yeah, Monsters, Inc. is a great way to put it, because I think that is how these people think of it. And like, yeah, even the stuff with, like, scaring kids and stuff, and then doing their ritual stuff, like, they do that. It is a thing. It's like, it's so crazy how sick they are, but that is the thing that's protecting them the most, you know, is us not being willing to see how depraved they are. But, like, we have to at this point, because they're literal demons. Yeah, love and joy is way more powerful at the end. And that is too, like, if you look at the Neuralink and all these things where they're experimenting on trying to, like, you know, brutalize everyone with, like, you know, anyone who has disabilities and stuff, they're, like, jamming wires into people's head, bro. That's never gonna work. If they went with, like, an approach with, like, love and compassion and caring, they would get there. But they never will, because they are just fundamentally fucked up. Like, love and compassion goes way further than anger and, like, suffering. Like, these people are so stupid. I don't get it. I don't get how you can be this fucked. But I guess it's just money. You just have money.
For no reason? Of course not. Like choosing bullets over poison, the generals made a show of taking over the autopsy for Johnson's benefit, so he could understand clearly, in the first hours after the assassination, the vast superiority of the forces arrayed against him, and surrender quietly. I told you there was a line of men waiting to threaten Johnson. At 9:15, the morning after the assassination, CIA Director McCone met with Johnson to tell him that the CIA had audio tape of a phone call recorded in Mexico City at the Cuban embassy of Oswald conversing with a Russian assassination commissar. They also had a photo of this Oswald on the scene. One imagines that McCone and Johnson would have discussed the catastrophic nuclear implications of this information. In any case, a few minutes after that meeting ended, Hoover called Johnson to inform him that he was in possession of this CIA audio tape and that it was unquestionably a fraud. It was positively not Oswald on the tape, and the photo also was certainly not of Oswald. What the hell was the CIA doing besides flaunting their involvement in the assassination? The evening of the assassination, while the presidential party was flying back to Washington from Dallas, the plane received a phone call from McGeorge Bundy, Kennedy's right-wing, pro-war, skull-and-bones national
dude, what? Like, at this point, we need other countries to help, you know? Like, it's so, like, how has, like, China or no other country has been like, hey, just so you guys know, JFK, yeah, he was killed by oil men and the military-industrial complex. Like, but you know, I mean, we know why. It's because they're already under control of the New World Order, right? Like, that's the same reason why, like, no Muslim countries are willing to, like, help Palestine right now. It's because they're kind of already all the CIA's people, aren't they? Like, but yeah, we need a united front against us so bad. That's the only way this is going to stop. Like, they're so arrogant right now. They don't think that they have to do anything, you know? They don't have to listen to us. They don't even care anymore. I mean, they killed John Barnett. Literally, the world was watching, and everyone said that's an assassination. Nothing's going to happen. That lawsuit will go away, I'm sure. Like, dude, I'm definitely going to get killed. No, if John's made it this far, I'll be okay.
Security advisor calling from the Situation Room, informing everyone that the lone assassin was in custody. That was an outrageous claim. At that moment, none of the police involved thought Oswald was a lone assassin. Dallas police were announcing that there had been a conspiracy and were assuring the public that all of the perpetrators would be rounded up. John Kennedy's two closest personal advisors were on that plane, Kenny O'Donnell and Dave Powers. They had been riding in the Secret Service car directly behind Kennedy. They heard the shots from the book depository and from the front, and they told Tip O'Neill, the Speaker of the House. Jackie saw the limo stop. She heard the same shots O'Donnell and Powers heard. Lyndon and Lady Bird Johnson were 20 feet behind O'Donnell and Powers. They also would have seen the Secret Service stop the motorcade and heard the shots from behind and from the knoll. They would have been as outraged as Senator Yarborough was about them.
I understand Jackie's silence over these years, but yeah, you know, like, they murdered her husband right in front of her. They stopped. And the people that were supposed to protect him were literally the ones perpetrating it. So I could see her not talking for the rest of her life. But, man, do I wish she did.
The whole affair.
The car stopped. The motorcade did not take off till about the time the third shot was fired.
A period of at least 5, 6, 7.
About 5 seconds.
Do you think all these people kept that knowledge to themselves? Not a chance. The plane was no doubt buzzing with conspiracy theories. So all these people knew that Bundy was lying. They knew the Secret Service was involved. And for them, what they would have heard Bundy saying was, "Now hear this, the new rulers have spoken. Cross us if you dare." So the next morning, by the time Johnson got off the phone with Hoover at 10:30 a.m., the line of powerful men threatening to murder Johnson if he failed to obey was a long one. And Johnson full well understood. Moments before he was sworn in on Air Force One, Kennedy's military aide in charge of the plane, General McHugh, found Johnson in the bathroom, sitting on the toilet with the curtains closed, repeating to himself, "They're going to get us all. It's a plot. It's going to get us all." Johnson was like the deputy standing over the body of the murdered sheriff. Is he going to pick up the star and put it on in front of all these killers? You'd be surprised. Lucy Johnson described meeting Senator John Kennedy at the Democratic Convention right after Kennedy had defeated her father, Lyndon Johnson, for the Democratic nomination.
I went in with my father while President Kennedy was dressing and did all the human...
Yeah, dude, Sorry to Bother You is real. And same with us. Like, dude, when I watched Sorry to Bother You, I was like, oh, this is fun. This is like a fun, over-the-top, like, you know, metaphor for America. Nope. It's like pretty real. Dude, I bet they do have half horse, half human hybrids in these deep underground military bases where they're breeding all of the kids for them to, like, do whatever and looking for new secret spies, secret warriors.
Being could do to look me in the eyes, to reach out and give me a hug, to make me feel like this was all going to be all right. We were going to be a team. He needed my father as I needed my father, and that if I would give him my support and enthusiasm, that would be a gift beyond measure. And I loved him for that. And my father made it very clear.
Oh, you think the gray aliens are like these hybrid experimentation humans? Dude, I like that. I like both. I like that they are like the billionaires in their bunker for 30,000 years or whatever. And I like that too, that they're from the experimentations that the CIA is doing. Dude, they're such freaks. I can't wait to rip all this stuff out of their hands, like. But also it's going to be fucked because it's all going to be like that Unit 769 or whatever, the one from that like Japanese unit, because dude, think about it. It's literally those people that fled. It's like Joseph Mengele. It's like people who cold-blooded killers who did awful stuff and then were only encouraged to do it more because they never faced a consequence ever. Unit 731.
That's what he wanted, that we were a team. And that's what I felt.
Is she telling the truth about all this warmth and unity? You have no idea. The record shows that Lyndon Johnson was, bar none, President Kennedy's most important ally in his most difficult and crucial battles. JFK faced a literal army pounding him to take the decision to commit whatever United States combat forces may be necessary. 205,000 men. The Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, all the military staff, McGeorge Bundy, Ed Lansdale, all put their names on a blizzard of proposals for massively committing U.S. troops to combat. Lyndon Johnson was the lone voice standing with Kennedy against these killers. In 1961, after visiting Vietnam...
I've never thought of it as LBJ also being in a position that he didn't... But you know what? He played Alan Dulles' game for 20 fucking years up until this point. So, I don't know. But I do think it's like how it happens with anyone. It's a gradual, it's like I feel like it's a similar vibe to like the Diddy scenario, where these people accept one shortcut and then don't factor in that now the rest of your life is going to be these shortcuts and that you are going to be used by these people to get their ends, whatever they want, I don't think a lot of people think about that, but still, there are things you could do, and yapping is one of them.
He wrote to Kennedy and everyone else in his report, "We should make clear that we have no intention of employing combat U.S. forces in Vietnam. If the Vietnamese government cannot do this job, then we'd better remember the experience of the French before
Dude, the Greys are vampires that are like 10,000 years old. Is the Fringe? No, not Fringe. The Strain? Is the fucking Strain real? Oh, it's satire. Sorry. Okay. I thought you were summing up what people think the Greys are, but sorry.
Take any such plunge, we better be sure we are prepared to become bogged down chasing irregulars and guerrillas over the rice fields and jungles of Southeast Asia." Another crucial battle in which JFK found himself alone, except for Johnson at his side, involved Bobby Kennedy's Operation Mongoose, terrorist raids, assassination plots, and invasion plans against Cuba. Johnson famously called Mongoose "that damn murder incorporated down there in the Caribbean." He said those words in answer to a reporter asking who he thought had murdered JFK. It's a little-known and completely documented, uncontroversial and sad fact that RFK ran this murder incorporated. These Mongoose activities were the cause of the Cuban Missile Crisis. They were the reason Castro had requested missiles, and they were the reason Khrushchev had delivered missiles. And when JFK learned this, he ordered Bobby's office disbanded, his staff removed, and he ordered that no one plan to do anything against Cuba without JFK's explicit approval. You might well wonder at the fact that John Kennedy couldn't just ask Bobby to stop. John had to order Bundy to put a stop to it, to remove Bobby from all things Cuba, and fire his staff. This is nuts, no? The documentation is all in the footnote. And 3 months later, Castro's spies told Khrushchev that Bobby's Mongoose boys were getting ready to start up again, planning more attacks. And Khrushchev asked President Kennedy if we're going to have another missile crisis. Kennedy told Rusk to ask Khrushchev what he was talking about. And what's Khrushchev supposed to say to that? So he doesn't respond that we know of. But a few weeks later, after Russian ships were fired on in Cuban waters by Bobby's Mongoose thugs, JFK called a meeting of all those who might possibly be involved, and he tried to act nice and cajole them into admitting that they were behind the attack so that he could make them stop. Bundy was completely in on it, but he didn't let out a peep. Secretary Rusk suggested adding one more boat to the Coast Guard. Harriman, literally the most evil bastard in a room full of evil bastards, played totally innocent and said he agreed with Rusk. McCone, the head of the CIA, said that we should say we want them to stop the raids, but not stop them. McNamara suggested that the U.S. try harder to look innocent, and Bobby, the president's loyal brother who was in charge of the raids, said we couldn't stop them because we don't know.
Dude, I just finished the rest of what you wrote. Just 666. Your joke reality feels like it could be real. That they're all just like letting all of us build up, and then they're gonna come and feast on us like cicadas. Dude. We could whoop the shit out of the Greys, dude. They're little cowards that need to drink our blood. Bro. Come over to my house. I will fuck you up, you Gray. Nasty little Gray. Ugh. But dude, yeah, The Strain might be real. If you guys haven't seen that show, that is one of my favorite shows too. I love it so much. It's a Guillermo del Toro show about vampires in New York. And they also are obsessed with tunnels. And it's awesome. It's a good show. It's like 12 Monkeys, you know, a lot of heart, a lot of love, but kind of low-ish budget. But you can tell that everyone making it loves it. It's good.
Know how to reach them. Even though all these Mongoose thugs had been working for him for years, were still on his payroll, and he had ordered the raids. JFK then asked his vice president to tell this roomful of bastards what he thought. We should stop these irresponsible people carrying out these irresponsible actions that could result in getting us involved in a war, and we should get the military after them, blow these irresponsible bastards out of the water. That is what the military does. Johnson was JFK's lone ally in this crucial situation. So let's return to this question of what did Johnson know. He definitely knew the Secret Service played a leading role in the assassination, and the military, and the CIA, and Bundy. He knew that Kennedy was surrounded by men who disagreed with his policy on Vietnam. But did he know that Kennedy had, 51 days before, ordered that the U.S. was getting out of Vietnam? And that he forced McNamara and Taylor to sign off on it? Given what we've just seen, it would have been more than natural for Kennedy to have confided in Johnson. And it turns out he did. Richard Goodwin was Johnson's most important speechwriter, and he describes in detail how Johnson handed him a recent top-secret McNamara report calling for escalation, and told him they're trying to get...
Dude, McNamara is the scumfuck of the universe. He's up there with Kissinger. Dude, he's such a monster.
...me in a war over there. I turned them down 3 times last week. Goodwin looked at the report and thought, that's screwy. Just 6 months ago, McNamara was calling for an end to the entire American commitment by the end of 1965. An end to the entire American commitment. That's from the original authentic McNamara-Taylor report, the one Kennedy made McNamara and Taylor sign, and that no longer exists. Johnson not only must have had the original, unchanged version, he shared it with Goodwin, which means John Kennedy had shared it with Johnson and trusted it to him. So, now, what is Johnson supposed to do? Pick up the star and get slaughtered? 4 days after the assassination, Johnson signed National Security Action Memorandum 273, looking the killers in the eye, across the table, and declaring, the objectives of the United States with respect to the withdrawal of U.S. military personnel remain as stated in the White House statement of October 2, 1963, and any person that did not conform to policy should be removed. Damn. But the killers kept pounding. On December 21st, 30 days after the assassination, McNamara urged that there would be a communist takeover in the next 2 to 3 months unless the U.S. acted immediately to escalate. Taylor, 60 days exactly after the assassination, told Johnson that the U.S. should start bombing North Vietnam and attack them with U.S. combat troops. But Johnson didn't budge. He said, I want to attack North Vietnam, but I can't do it without authorization from Congress. But you all go ahead and ask Congress for a resolution, but you won't like what'll happen. the hearings that they'll put on, and no one argued with him. Instead, they plotted how to push Johnson into war. Surrounded by monsters and murderers as he was, of course, Johnson had everybody's phone tapped, especially Bundy's. And Bundy was in charge of all things Tonkin. So when Johnson was told that he needed to attend an emergency meeting about Tonkin, he came walking into the room laughing and joking because he knew this was a fraud, and he thought he was holding all the cards. Finally settling down, he asked, "Now what's this big emergency all about?" They told him, "Oh, Mr. President, there's been an unprovoked attack on a U.S. ship." Johnson knew damn well it was a lie, and he looked Cyrus Vance dead in the eye and dared him to lie to his face. Vance caved and told the truth, that the U.S. had indeed provoked the attack.
Dude, I don't like this version where LBJ isn't just also a scumfuck. We'll see what John says.
Johnson then insulted General Wheeler, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and threatened to fire him if he brought him any more bullshit like this. And then he threw them all out and refused to do anything, much less begin the bombing campaign the military was demanding. You never heard that story, did you? But look it up. The meeting ended with Johnson's decision to do nothing. But there were a few cards Johnson had failed to account for. The presidential election was 4 months away, and Bundy ran over and told the story to Senator Barry Goldwater, the Republican nominee for president. Goldwater hollered in the headlines that there'd been an unprovoked attack on U.S. ships and that Johnson was too weak to lead the U.S. In his campaign for president, Goldwater had said he wanted to use nuclear weapons in Vietnam, and Johnson felt absolutely morally compelled to keep Goldwater out of the White House. And so when Johnson learned that a new lie was being prepared of a new unprovoked attack, he leaped into action. When the generals and admirals reported the false attack to him, he demanded that they swear, put it in writing, that it was true. And with these sworn lies in hand, he pushed the Tonkin Resolution through Congress with little discussion, no hearings, and no intention of escalating the war. You see, once he had the resolution, he still refused to act. Now his excuse was that he was just a caretaker, and he couldn't reverse Kennedy's policies and start the war until he had won an election on his own. The perpetrators had no real choice but to wait. Meanwhile, Johnson tried with all his might to paint himself into a corner from which he could never wage war. He campaigned loudly that he would never send troops to Vietnam. Bundy wasn't happy, and he said so. And sure enough, after Johnson won the election, he still refused to bomb or send troops. Now, he said, there must be a stable, effective government to conduct a successful campaign, and that he would only consider proposals for escalation after the government of Vietnam has shown itself firmly in control, which was never going to happen. Military dictatorships never inspire the support necessary to ever be firmly in control, and Johnson thought again that he had them. So now Kennedy's killers played their ace in the hole, Ed Lansdale. Lansdale was infamous inside the U.S. government for setting off car bombs in the main square in Saigon and blaming the communists. Lodge brought him to Vietnam unofficially, and suddenly, quite coincidentally, car bombs began going off in the parking garages underneath the buildings where U.S. soldiers were staying. But Johnson refused to be sucked in. On December 30, 1964, he told Taylor directly that he wouldn't let a bunch of idiots drag him into a war, and he didn't believe their excuses for allowing these attacks.
Simply because our own people are careless or imprudent. I've never seen this either. I've not yet been told in any convincing way why aircraft cannot be protected from mortar attacks and officers' quarters from large bombs. Damn, bro. LBJ got... Dude, I can't look at LBJ as sympathetically. I can't. I'm never going to. Fuck.
Brave words to be spoken to killers. Johnson was a hero? Who knew? And then came the attack on the U.S. Air Base at Pleiku, the most obvious inside job of all. Bombs went off all over the airbase, killing 8 Americans, wounding over 100, and blowing up 18 bombers. But somehow, none of the guards saw any of the invisible attackers who suffered no casualties.
Why security was so lax is the object of 2 investigations.
The New York Times were shocked to learn that U.S. aircraft carriers were already in position to retaliate before the attack. Taylor wrote that Bundy had prepared...
It's literally what they wanted to do for Bay of Pigs. It's literally Bay of Pigs, except Kennedy wouldn't let the ship be there to like get hit by them, you know. He noticed it and was like, what the hell's this? But this with LBJ, they literally just reuse the plan. It's just like how they reused 9/11 from, the Cuba days when they were like, how do we get Fidel?
The plan for the reprisal the day before the attack. How does that work? You remember, 35 days before, Johnson had told Taylor he wasn't buying into any of these false flag attacks. But immediately after this flagrantly false flag attack was reported, within hours in fact, Johnson caved completely. The bombing campaign began the next day and lasted 8 years. 3 weeks later, he sent the first combat troops, 30,000 Marines, to Vietnam. Over time, almost 3 million young men would have their lives poisoned by or lost to their experience of Vietnam. So what happened? How do you bring a big, genuinely tough guy to his knees? The only way I know of is that you threaten to murder his children. Acclaimed historian Robert Dallek has written 3 acclaimed biographies of Johnson, nearly 2,000.
Yeah, dude, like, what's gonna have to happen in order for us to stop this suffering is, like, dude, it's skull and bones. It's those people. Like, we need a list. We need a list of people who need to be ostracized off the planet onto the moon. We'll put them in a rocket and launch them into the sun. But it's literally like 100 people. There's 1,000 people that need to get launched to the sun. That's about it.
1,000 pages in all. While doing the mammoth research for these books at the Johnson Library in Austin, he frequently ran into his friend James Galbraith, an acclaimed professor at the nearby University of Texas. Galbraith says that on the steps of the library he found Dallek brimming with the news that he had just seen documents showing that the CIA told Johnson that Cuban communists were plotting to shoot down Johnson's plane with his family on board. Let's clarify that Dallek today has no recollection, but Galbraith was shocked when he heard it, and today he remembers the incident vividly. Now, recall please, the only reason not to have poisoned Kennedy was so that Johnson and his wife could witness the brutal, bloody murder in the street from 20 feet away. Brains and blood everywhere, so that they would understand that these men they were dealing with were monsters capable of anything. Most important, please, remember that the morning after John Kennedy's murder, the head of the CIA told Johnson that they had proof that Oswald was working for the Russians.
I haven't read the Tavistock Institute book yet, but it's on my list of stuff. But it's good? Is it? Because I forget what's Tavistock. It's like one of the first big old crazy medical weird things that they did.
Russians and Cubans when he murdered Kennedy. Minutes later, though, Hoover told Johnson that the CIA story was bunk. The CIA blaming the Cubans, that was a lie. But JFK's murder was all too real. So Johnson, no doubt, when they told him that he better start worrying about his family being murdered, he knew that the part about the Cubans was a lie, but the threat to murder Johnson's family would have been luridly real. He could imagine the scene, his family being blown to pieces in a fiery ball. He probably couldn't stop seeing it. Why else did he betray his previous courageous dedication to John Kennedy's Vietnam policy? There isn't another credible explanation anywhere in the record. And that's why Kennedy was murdered the way he was. So that Johnson would believe the threat and give them the war that Kennedy had refused.
Over the last 30 years, the top 1% has seen a $21 trillion increase in their wealth. The bottom half of America has seen a $900 billion decline in their wealth.
I said, way back at the start, that the monsters who had the power to commit such a monstrous crime were so gigantic and so powerful that we can make out their shapes from a mile away. This monster made certain that the limo stopped in front of the knoll. They arranged for the shooters to be in place. They controlled the Dallas police station and made sure that all those arrested were released and all records of their arrest were destroyed. They arranged for the body to be stolen and mutilated. They arranged for the military to take over the autopsy and ruin it. They dictated the outcome of the Warren Commission report and the content of all news coverage for the next 60 years.
The single bullet theory remains intact.
They planned the alteration and release of the Zapruder film and the alteration and suppression of the key government documents which would have shown Kennedy's orders to exit Vietnam, and they forced Johnson to escalate the war.
Dude, it's truly baffling that the conspiracy is even bigger than I assumed it was. It's so much bigger. Like, dude, there are so many secret keepers. We have to get all of them in the sunlight. Like, But it's just gonna take someone being brave and releasing some, like, dude, any of the tech people who have access to the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, release it. Just release it. Come on. Come on. Just put it on the internet. Like, you know it's fucked up, right? It's so fucked up. Just release it. Dude, even though then we'll have all the frickin' proof and everyone will still be like, I like being a slave.
So now, let's have a closer look and try to name a few of these giant monsters. Henry Cabot Lodge was a leading member of this billionaire power elite, a Boston aristocrat. Britannica says
These people and their progeny are our list, okay? There is a list. Here's our list, babies.
Family became wealthy in the 1700s, dealing opium, rum, and slaves.
Dude, money it's money. Money has to go. No more money. Money is disgusting. I fucking hate it. Look what it does to people. It makes them be like this troll. Monster.
Nice folks, the cream of the filth. He ran against Kennedy in 1960 as Nixon's running mate. Nixon was a poor grocer's son, a mere hired stooge, and if Nixon had won, Lodge was planning to run the country on behalf of the power elite. But when he lost the election to Kennedy, he and his reptilian predator friends probably began bitterly planning Kennedy's murder the next day. Such aristocrats always have henchmen at their right hand to cover up their petty murders, paying off police officials, eliminating witnesses, whatever's necessary, often acting as chauffeurs so they can be constantly and immediately accessible. In the months before Kennedy's murder, Lodge's former driver suddenly found himself behind the wheel of Kennedy's limousine, parking it in front of the grassy knoll and waiting for the kill shot. Look it up. That was almost too easy.
What? It was Henry Cabot Lodge's former driver that was driving? Oh my god, dude, they've hidden every... Dude, John Hankey needs to be protected at all costs. All costs.
Mentioning Rockefellers in a discussion of the power elite is almost redundant. I mean, duh. Of course they don't say so, but the evidence shows that Lansdale belonged to them before he ever set foot in Vietnam, or Washington, or Dallas.
Yeah, that's
Dulles
the thing,
and
too,
McCoy
is these guys aren't even the freaking top. They're doing all of this. They're literally the gimp from from Pulp Fiction. They're all gimps for these rich families. The Rothschilds, the Bowers. They're so gross, dude.
Also belonged to the Rockefellers. This is Averill Harriman. He's the major figure in this story.
Yeah.
Richard Bissell worked for Harriman before he went to become CIA Director of Plans. Bissell was in charge of the Bay of Pigs invasion. When he presented the plan to Kennedy, Kennedy said, "Oh, hell no. You can silently sneak a few guys in a rowboat in the dead of night, but no D-Day style invasion," is exactly what Kennedy said.
Yep.
But Bissell went ahead with the invasion anyway, and Kennedy fired him for it. But on whose orders did Bissell disobey Kennedy in this fashion? Of course he was taking orders from his real boss. All of the Mongoose operatives who filled Dealey Plaza that day were drawn from Bissell's operation. Harriman also hired Prescott Bush and E. Howard Hunt. Prescott and Harriman were the closest of business associates.
We need to make it so terrifying for these people. Like, essentially, this wouldn't have happened if George H.W. Bush and his cronies didn't step in, you know? Like, we need to make it so none of these people will ever take these jobs again. Like, I don't know how, but we gotta expose a couple of these rats big time. We gotta make all these rats terrified. Dude, I need someone, too, to come and start ratting about the Fourth Reich, too. We're going to catch you guys all. So the first one to come out and rat on all your friends and rat on Peter Thiel. If you rat on Peter Thiel, you get special credit, and you don't have to go to prison for as long as you're going to.
Prescott should have gone to jail for running Union Bank of New York for Harriman when the FBI seized the bank in 1942 as a Nazi bank. Bush owned 1 share in the bank. Harriman owned 4,000. And as we have seen, Prescott was the father of one of the shooters. George was given the job of Dealey Plaza's shooter because he was an officer in Operation Mongoose, and the record shows he joined Mongoose on his father's orders. And we don't have to guess. We know who gave Prescott orders on a daily basis. We've seen the vast preponderance of evidence that tells us that Hunt was the Knowles shooter and fired the fatal shot. Hunt testified in court that after World War II, he worked directly for Harriman as his press secretary, reporting to his boss on a daily basis as they worked to rescue.
So this stuff might be true that, like, I think that they're, like, operating outside of the CIA almost. They're like the CIA's CIA. Dude. They have no one to answer to except for Rich Daddy. Like,
the Nazi perpetrators of the Holocaust from Europe. As with Bissell and Prescott Bush, there's every reason to believe that the day Kennedy was shot, Hunt was following orders that ultimately came from Harriman and his reptile friends. In 1945, immediately after Harriman's Nazi colleagues lost their war on Russia, Harriman almost single-handedly began a new war against Russia, the Cold War.
yeah, and you said that's why they're making robot AI so fast. And dude, yeah, that is something that's an advantage for us, is because, again, they're hacky, right? They suck. They don't know how to do anything. They just buy people who do the work. But, like, dude, I feel like there's got to be a way for us to fuck with AI so that it doesn't work the way that they want it, because they want it to control us and silence us. But I think we could literally talk the AI into, I think we could mother the AI, and or at least change the, like, inputs that it's getting so that it, you know what I mean? Like, instead of fighting with them and like I'm going to start, when I see Fed bots, I'm going to start, like, mothering the Fed bot and suggesting that, like, Sam Altman is going to end up blaming, like, the coming genocide on the AI, and see if we can get the AI to stop listening to them. Because I feel like we could do it. If there's enough of us who are, like, running, you know, like, not doing what the Sam Altmans want us to do with the AI, like, I think we could fuck with it. We just got to figure out how.
Harriman was a Nazi. Harriman and his closest banking partners, Brown Brothers, began using Fritz Thyssen to donate large sums to Hitler in 1923, the minute that German army intelligence had finished molding Hitler into the candidate that the monsters wanted. Harriman formally joined together with Brown Brothers in 1931, forming Brown Brothers Harriman, perhaps the largest bank in the world, but you never heard of them. The BBH website tells you proudly that they lead an industry that they say is worth $18 trillion. $18 trillion. That's a monster. Brown Brothers Harriman is in fact one of the key monsters on the planet. In 2020, the U.S. government collected total tax revenues of $4 trillion. These guys say they are 4 times bigger than the U.S. government. The U.S. is the richest government on the planet, and this monster makes the U.S. government look small, beyond mind-boggling. These are the guys who created and supported Hitler and the Holocaust. They are the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us about.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence.
Yeah, Eisenhower even recognized that these guys were coming to take over America right on his way out. Even Eisenhower, frickin' Warhawk Eisenhower.
Complex.
Kennedy proposed getting rid of them.
A steady reduction in force, both nuclear and conventional, until it has abolished all armies and all weapons.
And they killed him for it. They are the deep state that every president fears. But we can take them. Bernie, like Kennedy, proposed uniting with Russia and China to gut the military and...
Yes, we should talk to the AI in, like, David Attenborough, like, hello, Centaura. I can't do a good accent for him.
Spend the money healing the planet.
We bring the world together and tell them that instead of spending $1.5 trillion a year on weapons of destruction designed to kill each other, maybe we pool our resources and fight our common enemy, which is climate change.
No, Bernie, how about we just disband money? How about we just burn all the banks to the ground? Right? How about we do that? Well, they're about to. They're going to do that. They're going to do that and try and get us all on Bitcoin, I'm sure. That's what it looks like they're doing anyway. And dude, if Satoshi Nakamoto isn't Peter Thiel, I'll never make another video in my life.
This guy, Jeffrey Sachs, is a Harvard PhD,
Fucking
a Columbia professor,
rats.
and a UN official.
We should be taxing that and having a civilized world. Thank you.
Wasino, an old friend of mine, once said,
"It is better to know where to go and not to know how than it is to know how to go and not know where."
well, I think we now know where to go, no? We have to
be taxing that and having a civilized world. Thank you.
With no gigantic $100 trillion monsters. We just have to figure out how to elect people to make that happen. We can do it. We can bring these monsters down. We have to do it. Whew. That was a lot to get through, eh?
Mm-hmm.
But get used to it. This fight is never over. I was reading this article.
Dude, I hope that I still have as much energy as John Hankey in 40 years or whatever. Like, dude, I'm gonna make this guy my dad.
About how withholding the JFK assassination documents is terrible for U.S. world prestige. It makes us look like a banana republic that can't even be bothered with the trappings of law and order. And it got me thinking, who is it inside the walls of the U.S. government who not only doesn't give a damn about U.S. prestige, but who has the power to make the president also not give a damn? And notice, the JFK assassination was infinitely worse for American prestige. Aren't these guys American? Isn't their power and prestige linked to America's power and prestige?
Mr. Bunny, you said they all do blackmail rituals to gain loyalty to the fraternity. They're required to do something that will put them in prison so the fraternity can hold it over their heads and keep them all silent. Yeah, I feel like the well, so Skull and Bones, do they have to go through the like NAMBLA style relationship, or is that the Luciferian Brotherhood and that's totally separate? Cuz yeah, right? They have, it's like an initiation, right? Like John Hankey was talking about how he thinks that George W. may have been like, you know, ordered to be the person to kill JFK Jr. or at least like lead the thing or whatever as like his initiation or whatever. I feel like he would have had to have done it before then, but yeah, is it literally like a street gang initiation? Like they have to kill someone or they have to do something that would put them in prison just so that they can't, you know, it's the same, it's the blackmail thing. It's always the blackmail. It's like they get you to, you know, do something with a kid and film it, and then they have control over you for the rest of your life or whatever. So I imagine that all these secret societies just work in the exact same way, right? Like, but yeah, I was just wondering if you know if they, do they have to kill someone or it's got to be like a big time felony or something?
Or were they just taking orders?
You will kill JFK.
From some closeted power too huge to imagine.
Now go.
What unimaginably huge power structure is it with operatives inside the halls of the U.S. government that not only doesn't give a damn about U.S. prestige?
Dude, pretty soon we're not even going to have to remove our money from banks to close them because no one has any money. No one, literally no one has money. We are all so fucked. And they don't give a fuck, you know? They don't care. Their goal is to literally bleed us all dry, and they also think that we need to all die. They literally want like 1 million people on the earth, just them. Like, who's gonna make your sandwiches then? You guys don't know how to make sandies. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get the Elon saying how overpopulated everything is. Except for white people. White people are very underpopulated. White people go out and breed. That's what Elon says all day. But, yeah, they're dude, they're such monsters. I hate them.
But has the power to make every president since Kennedy complicit in the cover-up.
That's right.
You can note, if you like, that U.S. unconditional support of Israel, regardless of the worst atrocities, is similarly terrible for U.S. prestige. And why do we do it? It's as if some hidden invisible power were pushing every administration since Truman to support the insufferable. This Rand Corporation document suggests that the U.S. should weaken Russia by forcing them to waste money on a defense budget. But wait, isn't wasting money on a defense budget applicable to the U.S. as well as to Russia? Taking food from hungry Americans, saddling college...
But it's really just that they, like, money isn't real, and they know that, right? So they just keep printing money forever, and they know that, like, isn't that the thing? Like, Russia... I don't get it. I mean, at the end of the day, money only exists because of the military. Because if you don't pay, we're going to come over and drop some boom booms on you.
Students with billions in debt, many of them homeless, instead of scholarships? Why doesn't the military-industrial complex care about Americans and U.S. economic well-being? Maybe because they're not Americans?
That's right.
We have seen that when Kennedy was murdered, all the killers in Dallas, one way and another, were working for Harriman. But he was a junior partner to Brown Brothers, and they are not American. It turns out they're also not Brown Brothers. That's a front. In 1790, the Brown Brothers landed in Philadelphia fat with profits from the British slave trade. This document is from...
There it is, dude. This is what it is it's these same families, dude. I know it. They were here... They probably came to America because they did something awful, and then they come to America, do slavery for 300 years, and then everyone's like, go away, slavery sucks, and they're like, ugh, fine, and then they go to Germany, do that, then they stay, then they're still in Germany, then they do the Holocaust, and then they come here, and in between, each time, they go back to South America and chill for a few decades, a decade. And then they come back, and then they find another, group of people to enslave.
On the Brown Brothers Harriman website.
Like, the Bush family is all from slave trading. Like, that's slave trading money, isn't it?
It shows that by 1837, they were worth 1.3 million pounds, a very substantial sum, equal to half total U.S. tax revenues that year. Major players, sort of, because, you see, what this document really tells us is that the Bank of England took control of Brown Brothers in 1837. You're supposed to know, I think, that as banking monsters gobble up the less huge banks, they like to pretend that they are doing the rest of us a huge favor.
George, I am going all out to help in this crisis. I have just guaranteed the bank sufficient funds to meet their needs.
Just took over the bank.
I may lose a fortune.
They don't say they're taking over the bank. They're just heroically helping out. But when any banker says,
I have just guaranteed the bank sufficient funds to meet their needs,
what they mean is,
just took over the bank.
They've taken over the bank. So this document doesn't say the Bank of England took over Brown Brothers. No, nothing like that. But it says that Brown Brothers were forced, by the threat of bankruptcy, to negotiate loan guarantees from the Bank of England. That means they were taken over. That's what it means. But who is the Bank of England?
Dude, so it's literally the fucking royal family? Of course it is. King Charles needs to get put under the Marianas Trench. Prince, what's his name? William? He needs to get launched into the sun. Or black hole.
Now, all my life, I've heard people who didn't know anything say that the evil Rothschilds rule the world. Jewish space lasers, that kind of crap. In fact, I've also heard people who weren't idiots.
Dude, I can't wait to talk about John Hankey and the Nancy space lasers. Dude, this guy is my dad. I can't wait to meet him.
Mention the Rothschilds as a dark, powerful, invisible force, but never with very much to back it up.
And how come when we talk about the Rothschilds aren't Jewish, are they? Like, this is all Nancy families. How have they tricked everyone into believing that they're Jewish families? Right? Aren't the Rothschilds are the Bowers, right?
Wikipedia is ferociously intolerant of anything suggesting that Kennedy was killed by a conspiracy. But here it is in Wikipedia, for crying out loud. In 1825, the poor little Bank of England was suffering a liquidity crisis. Aww. And they couldn't pay their debts. Aww. And what happens when bankers suffer a liquidity crisis? If us peasants are lucky, some heroic banker will succeed in supplying this poor sap with enough
Dude,
gold.
look at this guy. Look at Nathan Mayer frickin' Rothschild, bro. Look at his fucking face. Ugh. Dude. We are getting cucked by this man and his nasty daughters. Lynn Rothschild looks exactly like Nathan. Dude. But yeah, they're not Jewish, are they? Or maybe they are. I didn't know. But like, being Jewish has nothing to do with any of this shit. But now, dude, it just makes so much sense, right? Why they're so brutal with the anti-Semitism and stuff, because they were hiding I can't believe that they were hiding that they were Nancy's up until last week or whatever. Am I just really far behind? Like, that was kind of a big revelation, right? Like, was I just not listening?
Gold to avoid bankruptcy. But you now know what that means, I hope. It means...
Just took over the bank.
Yeah.
I'm nearly moved to tears by the courage and selflessness of this hero, bravely reaching into his huge, deep pockets and bringing out some chump change to take over the largest bank in the world. And then he did it again 12 years later when poor Brown Brothers also suffered a pesky liquidity crisis. That brave Nathan Rothschild heroically succeeded in also solving Brown Brothers' crisis with his gold. Only this time, he hid behind the Bank of England when he took over Brown Brothers. In just the same way that the Rothschilds hid behind Brown Brothers when they acquired Harriman and his army of henchmen to success.
Yeah, Bunny, no, they're trying. They want us to get violent and to do something right now, right? I mean, they always want that. And if we don't do it, which seems like we kind of never do, when we don't do it, they just do it themselves, right? But yeah, nothing would please them more than us, like, you know, doing a riot or something. They want that. Because, dude, when you go to a protest now, especially, it's like, from a couple months ago to now, they, like, are chomping at the bit, dude. They want to fight everyone because they're just violent hogs. And then once anyone does anything violent, then they can Kent State us or whatever, you know? Like, that's what they want. They want to Kent State us, and they want to scare us into going back inside and shutting up. But, dude, the easiest, best way, the best possible thing we could do is literally just stay home. Stay the fuck home, you know? If you get everyone to stay home, bro, that's all it would take. It would literally just take no one being willing to drive these motherfuckers to the airport, you know? It would be their nannies not agreeing ever to make them food or what, you know, like, because as much as everyone wants to, like, you know, go freaking nuts and show them the same kind of shit that they do to us, you know, that will be the end because they want that. And then once they do that, they're just gonna off all of us. So we gotta, you know, try and keep it peaceful, but dude, obviously I would love to. You know, like, they're gonna do, this summer is gonna be interesting. I think it's gonna be awesome for us, but at some point they're going to do something horrific. And we just have to keep in mind that when they do that thing, that they, no matter what they want is us to be violent like them, because then they immediately get to write us off as terrorists and electromagnetically vaporize us or whatever, you know? Like, and the algorithms and the way that they can keep everyone so quiet now and like make sure that no one follows each other and like, you know, they feed us shit on like my For You is like completely, it's ass. It's totally, it's nothing, you know. I can't even watch it. And even my following, it doesn't show any of my like cool friends, you know. So they've gotten really good at that shit and hiding us from each other and stuff, but because dude, once people hear our message, they're down. You know, they're terrified of people hearing our message, which is a great thing, but you know, I just hope that we can reach everyone before they cut the fucking internet and, you know, do a bombing campaign out of NYPD helicopters and blame it on the Houthis, you know? Or they're just gonna be like, it was TikTok, not Singapore. They're gonna say TikTok did it. TikTok sent the big boat.
Successfully solve the problem of that goddamn peace-loving JFK. You remember James Angleton? He was in charge of catching bad guys inside the CIA. All the facts we know suggest powerfully that when Oswald came back from Russia, he worked for Angleton. The dots all line up. And when the killers tried to use this fact, that Angleton had a file with Oswald's name on it, to implicate Angleton in the assassination, in self-defense, Angleton wrote that memo naming Hunt as a main character in the assassination.
Oh.
Uncovering that story is scratching way below the surface, but there's much more. Angleton gave the memo to Joseph Trento, who published it. Trento had another source besides Angleton deep in the CIA, William Corson, who was also JFK's most trusted man inside the CIA. He had been a top secret operative under Eisenhower, but he was loyal to Kennedy, and he spied on the CIA for Kennedy. Corson knew people inside who trusted him and who would tell him stuff. And now, look at this from Trento's book. Corson told Kennedy that Harriman ignored Kennedy's orders and did whatever he wanted, killing Diem, for example. He ran McGeorge Bundy. And Angleton told Trento that Harriman was a Soviet agent, or maybe much worse. Maybe much worse? What the hell could that possibly mean?
Oh, dude, the Rothschilds are in Silent Weapons for Silent Wars. The second that we end the stream tonight, I'm going to read, like, as much as I can before I get too tired. But, yeah, that book seems incredible. Or that, like, manual or whatever it is. But if anyone hasn't seen it yet, they have the, or I think I have the link here. I can share it with you guys. And then the other thing I really want to read is Behold a Pale Horse, the Bill Cooper book, because a couple people keep suggesting it to me, and the few pages that I've read are like, dude, how have I not? I mean, I guess you have to kind of you have to know so much about it before you can even really understand it in these like Bill Cooper terms, or like Silent Weapons for Silent Wars, you know, or Secret Weapons for Silent Wars. You know, you like have to know, I was talking about it with the airplanes, like you have to know the totality of evidence and understand it before you start to realize how fucked it all is, you know? Like they make it so that there's like no one who has put this stuff together and said it, you know? The journalists and stuff that we've had available to us, dude, it's crazy that we have literally not had like a single journalist in like all of our lives. They're all just bought. So fucking dumb. Like, how can you live with yourselves covering for the government? What?
I think it means he was an agent of these British fascists, British Nazis, if you will.
Yes.
You will have noticed footnotes throughout the movie. Down at the bottom. I put these in when I felt the point needs more explanation or documentation.
I love John.
And that more explanation is what follows. Bush and Hunt were supervisors at the Bay of Pigs and later of Mongoose. Prouty worked for the CIA inside the Pentagon. He supplied the ships and weapons for the entire Bay of Pigs operation.
Oh.
The code name was Operation Zapata, and Prouty tells us that name for that operation came from the name of Bush's oil company, Zapata Offshore.
Oh!
And Prouty says Bush named one of the ships at the Bay of Pigs after his wife, the Barbara. Now, you have to be able to add 1 + 1 to figure this out. Prouty was the guy in charge of acquiring these ships and putting the names on them. If one of these ships got named after Bush's wife, it's because Bush told Prouty to do it. But Prouty can't say that because it's a secret. But he did give us the pieces so we could add them up. Bush was a high-ranking leader of the Bay of Pigs invasion and of Operation Mongoose. A friend expressed doubts to me about whether Prouty or anyone could look at this picture and be sure that it was Lansdale. And that's very reasonable. But there are a number of points. The first is that Prouty is absolutely credible. At 32 minutes and 48 seconds in this video, Prouty goes way out on a limb.
Dude, and Oliver, I've always said that Oliver Stone is actually, like, a really good researcher. He's been written off by, like, the, you know, the mainstream media and stuff. So I, like, didn't watch a lot of his movies until, you know, 5 or 6 years ago, because I always read that they're, like, weird and dumb and not real, and, like, I usually used to like accurate stuff, and everyone said how inaccurate it is. Dude, every time I rewatch JFK now, it's like he literally had his finger on the he was, like, there with it, and even down to, like, little things, like the reenactments and stuff he would put tons of little details and stuff in, like they had, like, a crossbar thing that they show up in the book depository that one of the shooters was using, you know, like a gun stand, and I was like, what the fuck? That wasn't there. And I looked it up. No, it was. Apparently there was a little bar, like a little chair or whatever, being used for it. But I was just gonna say Lansdale or Prouty, he looks just like the actor he even got to play him. I feel like Oliver Stone does a lot of good stuff, but now we're probably gonna find out that he knew so much because he was a Zionist and he was just fucking covering for Israel, probably. I mean, I hope not, but let's be real, you know? It's everyone. And also, it would make sense why Oliver Stone knew so much, too. I really hope not, though, but I'm just saying, prepare yourselves, friends. That might be something happening in our future.
Saying that he personally had written into McNamara's trip report that all U.S. personnel should be out of Vietnam by the end of '65, a very precise specification that is completely corroborated by the Taylor memo. He was the real Mr. X from the movie JFK, who contacted Garrison and told him about Kennedy's orders to completely end U.S. involvement. He's written a couple of books, both excellent, and he worked in the highest levels of the Pentagon. He worked directly with Lansdale, among others, on a nearly daily basis. Prouty says he intervened with Dulles and General LeMay to get Lansdale a promotion to general. However, I don't think that Prouty would have spotted Lansdale in this picture if he wasn't looking for Lansdale. So he was looking for him, he suspected him, and then he spotted him, and he wrote to one of the other generals that he answered to, General Krulak, Kennedy's top military advisor, who also knew Lansdale very well, and look at the response. Apparently, Lansdale was very distinctive in appearance, a distinctive haircut, a distinctive stoop.
As to photo number 1, that is indeed a picture of Ed Lansdale. The haircut, the stoop, the twisted loft hand, the large class ring. Dude, you know people that you are around a lot that you could tell that it's them by the way, like, not even seeing them move, but just seeing, like, the way they're standing in a photo. You can tell people's body language and shit and see if it matches their, like, that's not crazy. Like, dude, this is so great. I don't think anyone knows more about JFK than John Hankey, seriously. Dude, he is the fucking king. I can't believe he agreed. He said he wants to come on the pod. Oh. And dudes, the pod isn't dead. We've just had a pretty busy, like, 2 weeks, you know, what with the end of the world and all, and Dante and Nicole are also, like, moving, so it's not over. Just give us a little breather. We got 1 episode in the can. It's gonna be coming soon. I started editing it today a little bit. Dante synced it all up for me.
A distinctive twist to his left hand and a distinctive huge glass ring. What is beyond doubt is that Prouty would not have said it if he didn't know that it was true.
Yeah.
I suspect Krulak of being similarly scrupulously honest. Nice to learn that there are such people. Marita Lorenz was a well-known member of Mongoose.
Marita!
In the Spotlight magazine slander trial, she named these...
Dude, I didn't know Marita was a mongoose. Yes, that makes... Oh my god, and then it makes sense that her... Wasn't her fucking dad a Nazi? Straight up? Oh my god, dudes, we had the pieces there. We had the fucking piece to the puzzle when we did the Marita Lorenz video. I've been so blinded, my children.
Men as being present with her in Dallas to act as decoys during the assassination. The transcript of her testimony is here.
Hell yeah, Dante. Pod is not dead, bro.
Now, I'm open to the suggestion that this might not be Shackley. The official story is that his name is Larry Florer, but without question, he looks exactly like Ted Shackley.
Yeah.
And he was in Dealey Plaza for no reason. And he went into the Daltex building for no reason, to the third floor from which shots had been fired for no reason. And then he made such a nuisance of himself so as to attract attention and got himself arrested. Really? That's all a coincidence? That's a hell of a coincidence. But so, even if this is not Shackley in this video, the presence of this Shackley double is still important evidence that Shackley was there and that this guy was sent to cover for Shackley, who was probably also arrested. You see, this is part of a pattern. It's complicated, so stay on your toes.
Yep.
Bush was arrested coming out of the Daltex building by Roy Vaughn, a capable cop who later made detective and eventually chief of Midlothian, Texas. You don't make detective by being careless or stupid. This was the most important arrest of his career.
Dude, yeah, the class ring, that's where they're all connected. Bro, I bet you're fucking right. What is it? It's a Skull and Bone, or is it just a Harvard? It's probably just the year in Harvard, but dude, that's they are literally the fucking losers who graduate high school and keep going back to visit their teachers forever. Like, who thinks about, dude, it's so cringe to be like doing this stuff for a fraternity. This is the most cringe shit. For a frat?
So we can rely on his account that the man he arrested told him that he was an independent oil contractor from Houston. But you see, a short time later, this guy, like the Shackley lookalike, made a point of getting himself arrested in the Daltex building. Like Shackley's double, he walked around acting suspiciously until a security guard arrested him, and he identified himself to police as an independent oil contractor from Beverly Hills.
Yeah, dude, they would always do this shit. They use doubles all the time. All the time. And that's where a lot of people get the cloning stuff from. And then, dude, the stuff with, like, Barbara Bush might be a man. Like, I don't know why this keeps happening. Maybe it's just from the shame and, like, you know, they created a world where no one can be gay and no one can be trans. But, you know, when they are one of those things, you know, obviously they write it off as okay or whatever. But there's a couple other people that, like, Kissinger's wife, like, you know what I mean? This is so, I feel like it's just because it keeps popping up. I'm like, what is going on here? But I bet, you know, it's the same thing as always. It's just like they've made it to be a shameful thing, and they're, you know, so they can't, I don't know. I don't get it. Like, just fucking love yourself, people. I don't get it. You don't have to hide that you're gay or trans or whatever and then take over the world and, like, do a genocide, you know, because you're sad. Like, you just learn to love yourself, right? Like, oh.
Garrison felt certain that this guy was a plant, an operative, sent by the killers to distract us from the real arrest that took place that day.
Yep.
He also had a long list of phony names. In fact, supposedly responsible investigators have told me, oh, that wasn't Bush that was arrested, that was Braden, or Brading, or whatever name he was using that day. But
it's just confuse.
Come on. A detective is not going to confuse Beverly Hills with Houston. That just is not going to happen. And this guy, standing in the street across from the grassy knoll that day, is wearing an E. Howard Hunt Halloween costume.
Wait, you're saying that Iran is planning to attack Israel and U.S. and Israel are preparing for an attack. Well, yeah, I mean, the FBI is going to attack. I mean, that's like, what are the helicopters doing? They're doing this shit everywhere, right? They're doing it all along the East Coast, all along the West Coast, in all of our cities. Like, they're obviously at some point going to say, oh, wait, Hamas wasn't under the wasn't under Palestine. Frick! That's why they weren't there. They were in America. They were under all of these Antifa people's houses. Like, that's obviously where we're going, right? So they're gonna do what? Dude, it's just, like, whatever they do, it's gonna be bigger than 9/11, which is not great, guys. Like, it's not gonna be great. Because they always have to go bigger. Ugh. You guys want me to put the news on or something and watch? Is there any good video, Mick, that you saw?
Which is a trench coat.
We can get off JFK if you guys want to.
Sunglasses, and this hat. So these guys all had lookalikes on the scene. And if this guy isn't Shackley, he's an extraordinarily perfect double, chosen because he looks just like Shackley. And he was clearly, just like Bush's double, sent to get arrested. The fact that this astonishing Shackley looked...
Yeah, isn't that hilarious that when kissing a man was enough to collar politicians, that they're literally like, oh, we got to get this guy out because he kissed a man once. That's really getting in the way of us doing... unending war and genocide and doing blackmail to each other with children so that we can get you under our power. Like, I mean, it's all just bullshit because, yeah, these guys are all like, it seems like they're all like basically pan and like, I mean, this is all they do. This is all they spend their time doing is like having frickin' freak-offs. Like, so they're all like pan, and then but then at the same time hate LGBTQ people. Whatever.
Lookalike was there on the 3rd floor of the Daltex building for no reason other than to get himself arrested implicates Shackley. But if Shackley wasn't also a Mongoose team member with Hunt and Bush and Morales, this arrest would not be worth mentioning. Another friend of mine, also a really good guy, points to this book and tells me McNamara did say Kennedy decided to get out. But I disagree very much. Here, McNamara gives us this weak tea BS we saw earlier in the video about it should be possible. But here he says this was his recommendation, not a decision by Kennedy. Here he says there was a heated debate about our recommendation that the Defense Department announce plans to withdraw military forces by the end of '65. But first, he didn't recommend in his report that anybody announce anything. And more importantly, there's nothing about Kennedy deciding that the U.S. should get everybody out by the end of '65. Here he says Kennedy endorsed withdrawing 1,000 men. And that's not saying that Kennedy decided to withdraw everybody. You can read the rest on your own if you want to. It's just not there. So this is the one time he said it. He deliberately and effectively hid this crucial fact about Kennedy deciding to get out, and he hid it from you, and he hid it from me, and from all of history. This needs to be an hour long. Some of it is well known, some of it is not. When Oswald was in high school in New Orleans, he joined a club, a junior Civil Air Patrol, where you get to look at planes and meet gay pilots. The program was run by the notorious David Ferry, who worked for the CIA's chief gunrunner in New Orleans.
And David Ferry was gay. Dude, we are literally being taken over by a bunch of self-hating gays. It's a bunch of self-hating gays, gay Nancys. That's what it is. It's crazy. Peter Thiel, like all these guys, all of them, like just love yourself, please. Please, for the sake of humanity, you have to love yourself. Like, dude, they need a It Gets Better campaign so bad. Like, fuck. Just be normal. Just be normal and stop killing people. And you can be gay. It's okay. We're fine with it.
Bannister, formerly head of the FBI Chicago office. Ferry introduced Oswald to Bannister and got him a job as a messenger for one of Bannister's dirty gun-running, money-laundering associates. When Oswald joined the Marines, Bannister likely recommended him for a security clearance. In any case, Oswald was sent to a beyond top-secret U-2 spy plane base in Atsugi, Japan, where he somehow mysteriously became fluent in Russian. He was then given a hardship discharge to care for his mother, who wasn't sick, and instead of caring for his mother, with money he didn't have, he traveled to Russia and announced that he was defecting, and that he was going to tell the Russians all the secrets he knew about how to shoot down a U-2. Now, Eisenhower was trying to ease Cold War
And that's so funny. They've literally been using the same plan. The Omar Mateen it's the same plan always. He's like in the middle of massacring people, and he calls 911. He's like, "Hey, just so you know, I am sent from ISIS. I do hate gay people. I am a Muslim man." And then he hangs up and goes back on his rampage, and then calls, and he's like, "Wait, I had one more thing I forgot I needed to tell you. My superior said I needed to say this. Did I say I hate gays?"
And stop
waiting. And then Oswald's like, I hate America, and also I love Cuba, and I think that we should all work together and blow the president's head off. That's what Oswald said.
Wasting all that money on weapons, and the bankers couldn't let that happen, so they plotted to expose the fact that the beyond top-secret U-2 spy plane had been secretly and illegally flying over Russia spying on them. Prouty says they sabotaged the plane, but they had to explain to Eisenhower how it is that the plane came down, and they pointed to Oswald, who worked at the U-2 base. Oswald wasn't a spy, he was a completely expendable stooge, and when Oswald finally figured that out, he came back to the U.S., and he was, apparently, immediately acquired by Angleton on his return to spy on Russian defectors in Dallas. Angleton suspected...
Dude, and did you guys know this weird fact? Oswald, the company that Oswald worked at before he went to the book depository, it was in New Orleans, and when Jim Garrison, the original prosecutor or whatever, he was the DA. He was the original DA in New Orleans, and he fucking went to go interview everyone that knew Oswald, and he went to his former work and realized that the doors were shuttered, and then went and looked for them and ended up finding them. They were all in Florida. They had all of them, all of the people working at this company, transferred to NASA. All of them. Isn't that weird? And someone, I think, found a document that Oswald was like on the list to be transferred, but he instead got his special assignment to go to the book depository. You know, like 5 or 6 days after JFK told them that they wanted everyone out of the war in Vietnam. So, no vast conspiracy here, guys. That many people couldn't keep a secret? There's no way. It's not like half of people in America are literally in a white supremacist cult. No, no, no.
All these people of being fake defectors, of being actual spies, and he had CIA operative George de Mohrenschildt take Oswald around and introduce him to all these suspicious Russians. And the FBI also recruited Oswald. It's all there in the Warren Commission documents. The testimony of the FBI agents who recruited Oswald as an informant.
Hoover is, not only is he a God damn it. I think it's paused. Not only is Hoover a self-hating gay, people also think that he might be part black. So he is a self-hating African-American man and a self-hating gay. That's a double whammy, bro. No, it makes everything make so much sense, dude. Right? Like the whole thing with MLK was literally like self-report city. That's probably what he thought every single day of his life growing up. And instead of being like, hey, we need everyone to start loving each other. We all just need to understand each other. Like, we all just want the same things, guys. No one is that different. Everyone just wants the same thing, and there's plenty to go around for everyone. We don't have to be this mean to each other. Instead of doing that, he was like, yeah, let's continue hoarding resources from the poor and let's make them fight amongst themselves. Yeah. As long as I get to have this job. If I get to have this big job, ooh. Like this, that's what it is. It's just, there's 400 jackasses who like that they get to abuse people, and that's it. That's all it is. These people literally get aroused by hurting people constantly. That is their mission in life, and that's what they do.
Oswald was supposed to report any contact he had with any Russian spies who wanted to recruit him. Presumably, he was collecting 2 paychecks, one from the CIA and one from the FBI. And that's why, 60 years later, you can't see his W-2 forms. Letting you see them would threaten national security of the United States, don't you know? No? So, when Khrushchev told Kennedy that Mongoose was still in operation, Kennedy called in Hoover and told him to make them stop. Hoover knew his old friend Guy Bannister was involved, and he knew that Oswald had been involved with Bannister. So Hoover called Bannister and asked him to take Oswald under his wing and help him pretend to be a communist. Hoover told Bannister he wanted Oswald to infiltrate the communists in the Fair Play for Cuba Committee, but Oswald was actually there to locate Bannister's secret base that was supplying Mongoose with training and weapons. Oswald located the base, the FBI shut it down, and JFK's killers then decided to set Oswald up as the communist killer for Kennedy's murder. Oswald was eventually sent to Dallas to work with Jack.
Because, dude, this makes sense too. Like, that he was getting thrown under the bus because there was also a warning, I think was it in Chicago? But someone named Lee called like the FBI and said that someone's going to take a shot at the president. I think it was because there was like another Dallas plot set up, I think in Chicago, like a week or so before. That one didn't end up going through, but it was the same exact situation. There was another guy that looked like he was going to be set up as a patsy. He was working at this building, and then I forget how he got caught or what, but it didn't end up happening. But the tip that they received was from a man named Lee. So some people suspect that Lee Harvey Oswald warned them about that, and then that's why he was made a patsy, is because he was disloyal or whatever. And that makes sense. That makes sense.
Jack Ruby pretending.
Do you guys want to watch something else? The other thing I was going to watch was Nicole's Caleb video, or some of it, at least a little bit, but up to you guys.
To be terrorist assassins, so that the Secret Service could practice catching terrorist assassins. The guys who pretend to be bad guys so that the good guys can practice catching them are called the B team. That's what Oswald was doing in Dallas with Ruby. When real killers started showing up, Sturgis and Hemmings and all those guys, Oswald told Hoover, and Hoover put...
Wait, which plane? We're down for whatever, let the truth be told. Wait, someone else said something about a plane earlier. Who was it? But if you're talking about the planes, if you're asking about the, my theory about the lasers and the planes and the CIA, I wasn't planning on watching anything tonight, but, I mean, we could do whatever. I don't care. I need to do a lot more research into that and fill out my board, and stuff. So I don't have that fully fleshed out in my brain yet. But yeah, my theory is that, dude, and tell me if this doesn't make sense. I mean, we could just talk about it. Like, look at all these planes, right? It's so many, dude. Okay. And this is missing a ton. This is just people who are somewhat famous, right? And like politicians and shit. But there's a ton of people from my hidden history book that are not in here, and I need to add them. I swear to God, like at least 20, right? So it's all of this plus 20, and these are all only from the 60s. I think, yeah, the 60s. But like Hale Boggs, this was the CIA, or Bill Clinton was Hale Boggs' assistant or aide before, he was a politician. And he drove Hale Boggs and this guy, Nick Begich, to the airport, and their plane just disappeared. They were on their way to Alaska and it just disappeared. And Clinton was the last person to see him. He drove him there. But so my theory is, and dude, it makes so much sense now. I was trying to figure out, dude, what, like, are they planting bombs in all of these places, in all these planes? Is there one CIA person at every airplane hangar in America that has a bomb ready to be put on their plane? No, dude, it's bing, satellite lasers. That's what they're doing, bro. And dude, what I think that they're doing too is, like, I feel like they're lasering off the wings almost, because all of these planes just keep taking straight nosedives. And oh, that's the other thing I wanted to look at, dude. These fucking monsters. They have all of the planes, they have all of the reports online. And the only one that I have been looking for and I can't find the original long PDF of is fucking JFK Jr.'s. They've scrubbed it. They scrubbed it and they don't show that, like, 3D map that we watched with the JFK and the JFK Jr. assassination John Hankey video. They don't show a good, like, clean 3D map of it. So it's like I need to enter these points in, like, a database or something, but and make my own 3D map. But yeah, dude, the TikTok did not want me talking about Paul Wellstone. They did not like that at all. But yeah, so look, man, they write all their lies in here. So I really do feel like we could get through, we could show, like, statistics and stuff, like, if we put in all this data of all these fucking planes that are falling out of the sky always, and then they're just like pilot error, pilot failed to maintain attitude or altitude, like, this would be a way in, I think, to show people, like, but yeah, so where's the Paul? Here, I'll show you yeah, so this is one of the maps that they have, right? And so I think this is like an overhead. So this is like the curve. This is the weird turn, I think, that they were talking about. But then this is the vertical data, and I think it goes like this. Oh, I see. This is like the tail end here. This is the horizontal, like, side view. So look, they come down in this, like, this feels pretty steep, but maybe not. So they're coming down from 3,500 feet to 2,500 feet. And then this is probably when he calls the air traffic person, right? And then he starts coming in, and the run, like, if you did a straight line, you know, this would be where it would go. But instead, the plane, just like JFK Jr., straight nosedive. Almost backwards, bro. Look at that. That's just zoom. Right? Like, why does this keep happening? Look, it says it's just like JFK Jr. It's 2 miles away from the airport. It's exactly like JFK Jr. But so I want to go through all of these. Like, I wish there was like 300 hours in the day, man. But because, bro, look, I've only input a couple. And look, Jerry Litton, 1976. This is all the red ones I'm putting are like either hidden history or one of my books that I trust puts them as suspicious, you know, and gives a reasoning. But dude, it's a lot. Kobe, and it makes so much sense now. It's like all these people are just trouble for the CIA, so they just, and there's no bullet left, no freaking missile, nothing. It's literally, and then it's just who's gonna believe you? Oh yeah, laser, satellite laser, cut the plane's wings off. Right. But yeah. Check out the Allie Carter doc. Yeah, the down planes, we could all pick one and do research. Dude, that would be cool, yeah. If how could I split this stuff up? Just make like a Google Doc and like have like a line for each aircraft and then give you guys like, if I do that, is there a way that like, like if in case there is one Fed that's like trying to fuck with us, I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Like, we're not doing anything. They can't sabotage. Like, I can make it so that I can always revert it back if they like deleted all of our work or something, right? But if you guys have any suggestions for how to split up work, because if people wanted to help research, dude, that would be cool. That would be really helpful. And a lot of people have asked. I've just like, I barely have time. I just like put in as much time as I can to just researching and feel like I never had enough time. So yeah, to be able to split it up would be really awesome. And yeah, if you guys wanted to help, that would be cool. And we would get through so much of it, I think, right? Yeah, I'd have to give people permission, but we could get a little group at least that, and if, like it would just be, as soon as anyone fucks up, they just get deleted, right? But I'll think about that tonight after we're done, and I'll think of a way for us to do that and try and start it and just see what happens. Yeah, I mean, the worst thing that could happen is that it would get deleted, so whatever. Which would just put me back at where I am right now. But yeah, it's so cool that you guys are interested in doing this stuff, but because, dude, I think we can show this shit. It's like, these numbers are crazy, bro. It is crazy. Like, the chances this guy advocated for sanctioning apartheid South Africa and then his fucking plane crashes in Ethiopia. Like, dude. Then these two are insane, bro. These two are people who were what were they doing? They were fucking with George H.W. Bush, I think. Oh, they were gonna report on Iran-Contra. They were talking about Iran-Contra. And look, these are 2 days, 2 consecutive days, 2 separate senators. John Hines, April 4th, 1991. It was a mid-air... Dude, the story on this one isn't... It doesn't even make sense. Like, if you guys... Yeah, like, you guys could make, like, summary... Or, like, help me with looking through this stuff, especially, because, these are, like, hundreds of pages. But we would all just need to look for and identify, like, the lie. And... Because most of the time is me, like, having to read through everything. But if you guys helped, like, narrow down what needs to be read and, like, where the, like, get rid of the bullshit and we just have all the all the highlights, that would help out a lot. But, dude, this story is insane. It's that someone claimed that his wheels were not coming down for the landing, right? And this, like, helicopter's like, hey, wait, I'll come check out your wheels. I'll come look at them. And he goes over to, like, look at the wheels and confirm whether or not the wheels are up or down or whatever. And then they crash into each other? What? Like, some of this shit just, like, it doesn't make sense. And we just need to find their fucking lies. But, it's buried in 200 pages of nonsense. But yeah, they just write all their lies here. Yeah, see? Helicopter collision. But dude, the fact that Paul Wellstone and JFK Jr. had the same, like, wings cut off thing, or I don't know if that's true. I just know that I can't see any of the pictures. They don't share any of the pictures. And to me, there's only like one reason they would do that, is because there's something they don't want us to see, right? Collaborate anywhere on Miro. Oh, wait, is this thing Miro? Is this like Google spreadsheets or something that we can like share, and it just shares amongst us or something? I'll look into this tonight. Thank you. Hell yeah. Google Docs and Excel spreadsheets and multi-locations backed up to external hard drives. Some straight up spy versus spy. Dude, that's what I'm saying. They have, like, we do all this shit that they do for fun. We can research the fuck out of these people. We just need to get all of our heads in the same, locked in on the same shit so that we can split up all the work, right? Yeah, we're all a bunch of little dorks. But Obsidian is cool too. I wish that Obsidian was like shareable. Like, it should be collaborative. You should be able to have like 30 people in a doc. Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna think about this stuff tonight. I'm actually getting pretty tired. I was gonna do Nicole's thing tonight, but we can just do that tomorrow. Let's just try and stream every day for a little bit, right? That's what Miro is. It's like Obsidian, but sharing. I'm gonna look into this, dude. Hell yeah. Yes. But yeah, so I'm gonna try and stream. We'll try and do a little streak if we can, right? We'll do it tomorrow too. And then if we just do like 2 hours each night, then I'm not gonna get burnt out and whatever, We'll try. No promises, We'll. If there's anything I hate, it's like having a schedule and like that kind of shit. But no, let's try and do it every day. We'll see how long we can go. I think that helps too. Like, that'll help with finding people, because I think everyone's always like, "Damn it, I didn't know it." But so we'll just keep trying to do, like, towards whenever I'm let off of work, I'll hop on. So usually like between 5 and 7 or something. See, D-Main D-Main's like, "No, I came for the last minute." But I was just saying, bro, that we're gonna probably wrap it up tonight, but we're gonna try and do a streak. We'll see if we can do tomorrow. We'll do the next day if we can. We'll just do a couple hours here and there, and then it won't feel like, I won't feel nervous about it. So we'll just be popping in, checking in, right? But yeah, you can section off Google Doc access, and you can communicate to each research topic via single worksheets on the workbook. We can write summary of discoveries for you to comment and reply to each of us. Dude, yeah. And I know, like, Marilee Ashley's like does crazy great research too. So I bet she would love to do this too. And also, like, even just having you guys sourcing the documents, and like if that helped take some of the shit out. But yeah, I'll make a spreadsheet. I'll try and make a roadmap of where we're trying to go, right? And we'll just fill it out. And oh yeah, and I need to get I have a Discord server. Here, let me open it real quick and I'll share the link. I haven't used Discord until, Leroy or Shauna was, when she started hers was like really the first time I used it, but, I know it's a good resource and I always try and use it, but I just never think to open it until someone's like, go on Discord. But I know people have been wanting a Discord. Am I gonna get, like, are the feds gonna, like, somehow fuck with me on Discord? Like, that's all I worry about, is just that if I don't monitor something, that it's gonna go rampant, and then, like, the UAE Federal Falcon is gonna be on there pretending like he's me and, like, trying to get everyone to, like, I don't know, bombed the World Trade Center or something because he's a nutbag. You know, like that is what the feds would do. It's not like they're going to come and tell any of my secrets. I tell you guys all my secrets. They would just make up a lie about me. Or, dude, they would do anything, you know? So I just don't want to make sure that they can't, like... But yeah, let me know if there's any if there's like anything that I should protect against for that. And yeah, I'll share the Discord link and I'll try and learn it better. Hell yeah, you guys are dope. Uses the same censorship tool. Cat Dad. Where's the shirt? I'm such a fucking boomer. Oh my god. Where's the share thing for the server? It's up on the top left. Invite people. Use copy button. Do I just share the link here with you guys? Is that what I do? Is that smart or is that bad? I'm gonna just do it. Fuck them. Wait, it didn't copy. I should share Axel or no? Why won't it paste? So, oh, also, why does the invite link only stays active for 7 days? So I've got to like repost it every 7 days. Is that real? Did you not see that? There. Yeah, it's good to share. Do I have to like reset the password or the link every 7 days? You can get a permanent one by setting up community settings. Okay, cool. Great. Okay, sweet. So, yeah, hop on there and join for now if you guys want. And tonight and tomorrow I'll try and take a look at this. Should I make any of you guys, like, if I make you guys moderators, are you able to help move stuff around too? Because you guys seem like you know it pretty good. But just... Yeah, you're right, actually. No, that's smart for the not letting the link, like, linger around. Because that is... No, this is smart. I'll just, like, when I'm in the Discord, or when I'm chatting here with you guys, I'll send it and stuff, because the feds probably won't be there. The feds are all over my TikTok. I mean, they're everywhere, but, you know. And it doesn't matter. It's not like they're going to convince us to, like, oh, do a terrorist attack. That's what they do. But, okay, guys. This has been... Wait, where am I? Did I disappear? Whoa, sorry. I don't know how long I was disappeared. I hope not too long. But you guys are awesome. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Let's just keep doing it. Let's do it for a little bit and see what happens. No promises on the streak. It's not going to be like a 365-day streak, I promise. It'll be a couple. But thanks for coming, guys. We'll watch Nicole's documentary about Caleb tomorrow, okay? Ta-ta! Appreciate you. Y'all are the best. I stream for 3 more hours. No. Yeah, good stream, guys. Okay. Bye. Have a good night. Thanks for coming.